hopefully we've got sound and everything is working well. I'm going to go ahead and trigger the live stream now on our streaming network. So for those who are watching on the streaming network, you're seeing us here. If you are not watching on the streaming network and you're seeing this on social media, keep in mind that you can find us at onedegreeoutside.live, and that's where you're able to join us there. Hopefully everything is working well with regard to both picture and audio for you here. We'll go ahead and send out a push notification on our app as well. If you don't have our app already, keep in mind it is free and 5 stars, and you can download it on the App Store and Google Play. It is the 1 Degree Outside weather app. I'll go ahead and publish that push notification so everybody now with our app should also know that we are live. You can also watch live in our app. At the top of the home screen of the app is a link to our streaming network, and you can see it here. Why are we coming to you right now? Because of the fact that we continue to see strong winds that are coming across the area. Damage is being done. We now have reports of winds in excess of 65 miles per hour for some maximum gusts, and that has been causing damage. In fact, we have 13,000 folks without power across the state of Massachusetts right now, and that number is continuing to climb quickly. A word from the National Weather Service Skywarn Spotter Network is that we've received somewhere on the order of about 250 reports of new damage that have come in over the course of the last 45 minutes, and the wind will continue to increase. You can see Danielle's head right there by the desk. Hi, Danielle. What?
Your volume is a little low.
A little low. Okay, thank you very much. Did you already do it, or should I do it?
I would just
Tweak it a little. We'll bring the volume up just a little bit, and hopefully you can hear a little bit better now as well. But Danielle, keep me posted and let me know if we need to put it up. And by the way, you're always welcome to join in anytime. Love seeing your head there below the desk. But nonetheless, you can pull up a seat anytime you like to. All right, folks. So we've got our chat that's going. We welcome you to use that chat. You can do that both via social media. If you're seeing this on Facebook, if you're seeing this on X, if you're seeing this on Instagram, you can always chime in the comments. YouTube, same deal. This is being generated as a live stream where you can comment there. And of course, we have the chat, the main chat that's always going at onedegreeoutside.live as well. So I'm monitoring all of those chats with you here over the course of this live stream. Let's go ahead and get you the overview on what's happening and bring you up to speed on what's been going on and where the worst of the weather has been happening. I'm going to go ahead and start us out with an overview of what's happening and bring you up full screen so you can see what's going on with the storm center. So there is the cold front. This is a front that's associated with the storm center that's up in Quebec. There is, however, a wave of low pressure developing along it that will continue to make its way up over New England, and that's what's been kind of giving an extra boost to these winds as it's been coming by. Let's see if I can go ahead and advance things for you and show you what's happening. We'll continue with the setup, and we'll bring you to radar, because what we saw earlier today was a blast of some really focused thunderstorms that prompted a severe thunderstorm warning in northeast Pennsylvania for a short period of time. That line now has weakened, but it's coming into the state of Vermont. We've already seen gusts in the early morning out of the east, southeast, and southeast to over 60 miles per hour on the western slopes of the Greens. Oftentimes, a southeasterly wind brings in what will be stronger winds on the west side of the Greens. It comes over the top and then slopes down. And you can actually see some of those storm damage reports showing up. All those white dots that you see are damage reports right now. So one of these areas of focused, what was producing thunderstorms, now downpours that can bring strong damaging winds again, is just coming over Lake Champlain and moving into the Champlain Valley of Vermont. Taking a look at some of the observations that have come to us already, 54 mile per hour gusts that came out of the city of Burlington over the Echo Leahy Center. This was not, of course, the only observation. You get 73 mile an hour gust in South Lincoln, Vermont, and Addison County that was reported a short time ago. Also picking up a 41 mile per hour gust a short distance away from that 73 mile per hour gust. 47 miles an hour at Jericho Center, and even in northern New Hampshire, Sugar Hill, picking up a large pine tree that was down blocking the southbound lanes of I-93 in Franconia. That was about 2 hours ago. Now that wind has started to shift focus down to southern New England. In fact, Blue Hill Observatory has gusted over 70 miles an hour. You can see it here at 72 miles per hour out of the Great Blue Hill, and then also a short distance away, a 58 mile an hour wind gust at Norwood Airport. Seeing a 60 mile an hour gust that's just come in a short time ago, about a half hour ago, out of Rentham right now from one of the Mesonet stations that's there. South coast of Connecticut has seen multiple gusts that have been over 60 miles per hour. So this is included Brantford, Connecticut. We gusted to 58. We gusted to 65 in Madison, Connecticut over in New Haven County. You get near New London. We had strong gusts as well. Power lines down on Route 156 Shore Road at 4 Mile River Road, just northeast of New London here at the Groton Airport. A gust to 66 miles per hour that was measured right at the coast. It was 67 miles per hour. We get down in between and over Long Island Sound. Plum Island picking up a 67 mile per hour gust. Again, that's Plum Island, Long Island Sound, not off the North Shore of Massachusetts. And 64 miles per hour, another report that came out of there as well. So you get the idea that certainly the wind has been delivering. Damage has been ongoing. I'll keep you posted on the power outage numbers here as time goes on. Here are some of the current wind gusts. Now, keep in mind, wind is a snapshot, right? Or we take snapshots of wind. I suppose it's ever flowing, which means that when I show you this, as new observations come in, we may see new updates to this as well. Let's zoom in a little bit. And in southern New England, notice that Willimantic, Connecticut gust at 54 miles per hour. This is one of those times where you can see spots along the immediate shoreline, like New London, Connecticut, gusting to 63 right now, that can certainly cause damage. But also inland, you get a better chance of getting some of this as well, because actually in some spots where the ocean water is cool enough, you're almost protected a little bit. The wind tries to mix down through the sky and all the way to the ground, and if the air is cool right by some of the cool ocean water, it can't make it all the way down. But where you've scoured out any of that cool air, you've lost that protecting buffer, and you're getting the wind that can be damaging, and that's why even Willimantic can still gust to 54 miles per hour. We can come farther north into central New England. Hi, Danielle.
Hi. The audio, just before I push notify, the audio is still very low. I've bumped everything up.
The audio is still very low. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Folks who are watching right now on the live stream, let me know how the audio is for you. I will try and boost it up more without kind of blasting myself out. But let us know in the chat. I see you chiming in the chat and letting us know. So let me know. Again, we are our own technical crew here as well. It's a small operation, to say the least. So it seems I don't see anyone complaining of the audio yet, but keep me posted. Josh Webber says a 54 mile per hour wind gust at 810 feet in elevation in Orleans, Vermont. No power since 10:15 a.m. It is 56 degrees, though, and all the snow has melted a foot or so. Amazing, Josh. Thanks for letting us know about that. Appreciate the heads up. Meanwhile, wind just started blowing in Lawrence, says Fear Photo. Thank you very much. Strong gusts in Haverhill from my dad. All right. Thank you very much, Dad, for the report there. Sounds good on YouTube, Danielle. Getting reports from folks. Audio also good on Facebook. So the audio good across the board. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. 7 out of 10 says, all right, Blue Bee. Thank you, everybody, for letting us know. Continuing with that tour of what's going on with regard to our wind observations right now, you can certainly see the 46 mile an hour gust that stands out along with 48 miles an hour at Rutland. So this is, again, remember, we were talking about how the higher up you are, the more wind you have. Well, these are two hilly locations, right? So you definitely have the wind that's certainly going to be observed in the hills. And then it comes down to how much cool air you have left over in terms of what you might get for reported gusts other than that. And we see that playing out in southern Maine. 43 miles an hour at Sanford versus 26 at Portland, and then 36 at Brunswick Station. It feels at times like there's no rhyme or reason, but there is, and that reason is, again, whether or not you've got a little pocket of cool air that can be very localized and protect you, or whether you've lost that. Prediction on the wind gusts, we should continue to see at least some gusts. I don't know if you look at this prediction for 12:45 an hour from now, that we're going to find 60-plus gusts in all of these spots that you see it, right? But the moral of the story is where you've lost any protection of cool air, you're vulnerable to 60 mile per hour gusts or greater, running all the way through, let's say, about 1, 2 o'clock. As we get deeper into the afternoon, that shifts to down east Maine. So it's really from Penobscot Bay east by the time we get to about 4:45. Notice for the rest of us, the wind changes direction. It's been coming out of the south-southeast, which, by the way, our trees are not hardened to a south-southeast wind. So we tend to get more damage done when we get a south-southeast wind, even at a lower, let's say, speed than you might get on a westerly wind that we're very used to. But notice the wind starts to change direction, comes southwest, then westerly, and eventually with a timestamp in the upper left as we head into the evening, it becomes a westerly or even west-northwesterly wind. That's going to bring in colder air. There is going to be a quick freeze. I don't know that I'd call it a flash freeze in any spot, but it's going to be a quick freeze that happens. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Notice that your winds are still gusting 30 to 45 miles per hour all the way into the evening. And as we get deeper into the night and the overnight, about midnight, you've still got gusts that are going 40 or better. We may still be gusting to 50, although I have to say I think the greatest damage potential is right now and into the afternoon. I think by the time we get to the overnight tonight, probably, again, it's a different different direction. It's out of the west. We're hardened, and our trees are hardened and used to that kind of a wind direction, so chances are very good you're going to see less in the way of damage done as we head to the overnight, even though by 4:45 a.m. you still have a gust going to 50 miles an hour at Pittsfield. So all of this warmth all this warm wind has brought in the warm temperatures, so notice we're running in the 50s, but see what I mean about the ocean. Nantucket's only 50, right? Plymouth is 57. So that's some of that protection that can sometimes be ongoing. Same thing in Freiburg, Maine, where you don't have the same wind as everybody else. It's only 39 degrees for you right now. Let me switch you over to the analysis and get a good idea, and then I'm going to go back to our chat and see what you have to offer here. Again, this is our latest analysis of radar. The wind is, of course, in here as well. One thing that I can do is switch this radar over to a wind estimate. And if we go over to the velocity plot, you get an idea that just off the deck, now you're looking at probably about 3,000 to 4,000 feet off the deck. But just off the deck in the Merrimack Valley right now, the wind's blowing 97 miles per hour. So it gives you an idea that if we're talking about gusts that are going 60, you're already protected from what's happening just a couple thousand feet off the deck. Over Boston, it's an 82-mile-an-hour wind, radar estimated, that's going on right now. And again, this is not like when you get a severe thunderstorm, and it's very localized. And I'm trying to get the downburst wind at the center of the storm, right? This is different. This is something that's a very broad-scale wind that's coming in right now. The farther south that you go, as you make your way in, let's say, to Taunton, that's a little bit lower estimate. It's not, the beam isn't shooting as high up in the sky. You're only about maybe 800 feet off the ground in some place like Taunton here on the estimate, and it's 50 miles an hour. So it gives you an idea that the wind's blowing about 100 when you go 3,000, 4,000 feet up. That's reduced to the gusts of 50, 60, 70 miles per hour the farther south that you go. I can bring it back over to the kind of the plain radar. And again, you certainly were seeing the rain coming down steadily. The yellows indicate some of the heavier downpours, and that's what we're seeing over Narragansett Bay right now as well. Let me get over to your chat, and let's see what you have to report to us here. Appreciate everybody who's kind of chiming in and letting us know what's going on. So looks like we've got folks that are tuning in from all over here. Yeah, all the way from Vermont up to the Merrimack, down to the Merrimack Valley, and down to the South Coast for that matter as well. Good to hear from everybody who's chiming in, and we're going to continue to answer whatever questions you have here. New England-wide outages just jumped to 57,000 to 75,000 over the last 10 minutes. So that's been a significant uptick in outages. One of the things that I can do, and I love what MEMA has done here, and I encourage other EMAs at states to go along with this. But let me go ahead and bring that in, because what this is very helpful for is seeing power outages. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and bring that up, and we'll take it up so that you can see. Hopefully I'll get it right on top of us. Here we go, if I got this right. Yep. All right, let me bring it in. Great. So here's the MEMA update, and you can see 16,968 without power. One of the areas that stands out, New Salem, Massachusetts. There's not that many customers there, right? 102. This color coding indicates percentage of the community that's without power. You got 21% without power right now in Dudley. We have lost power in Hopkinton to 18% of the customers there, 14% in Southborough, and about 15% in Sudbury. But notice the large area, basically either side of the Mass Turnpike southward are areas that stand out for having at least some number of power outages. What we've been seeing here hasn't been a large number of outages in one community so far. Rather, it's been that we've been getting a larger number of communities with some outages. What stands out to us here is Pepperell, 87% without power right now in the town of Pepperell. So keep in mind that for some of these, it's quite simple, right? You get a tree that comes down in a large transmission line or something like that, then you end up with problems with that. Hearing from Joe now in the chat. Breezy here in King of Prussia, PA. All right, great to have you from Pennsylvania, Joe. Glad to see that you're tuning in. 35 to 40 miles an hour, gusts up to 45. Cheryl White, lots of large tree branches down in my yard about 10:30 this a.m. All right, thank you, Cheryl. Where are you? What town are you in? Let me know so that we know. I'll switch you back over to the kind of more conventional weather graphics that we look at together, and we'll get back over to the radar. Let's take another look at what's happening with regard to wind gusts and see exactly where we stand now, because these are updating every few minutes. We're able to get a pretty decent idea of what's going on. So, yeah, New London, Connecticut. Wow, there it is. So New London, Connecticut, remember, was at 63 miles an hour when we looked just about, 5-10 minutes ago. Now that wind has made it to Norwich. So it's a wind that's coming out of the south-southeast, and it's holding together. So Willimantic, you'll be up next. You already gusted over 50 at Willimantic, but chances are good You're going to end up getting that gust over 60 that's going to make its way up 395. Webster, Mass. gusting to 54 right now. And again, you've got more in the way of wind coming up from the south. You can certainly see really easily and quickly where the core of strongest wind is, can't you? Eastern Connecticut, 395 corridor, 95 running through Rhode Island, and then coming up through 495 in central Mass. These are your areas of strongest wind, which means that if you're watching us from the Boston Metro or if you're watching us from southeastern Massachusetts, you're just getting into the core of strongest wind right now. Merrimack Valley, you're just starting to get up there as well. So, again, watching for any updated damage reports that may be coming into us here. We know there's a lot of damage that's being done, and the reason we know that is because if you track scanner reports, then, from first responders, then you've got what now has been hundreds of different reports over the course of the last hour or so. So this is kind of the witching hour in terms of what's happening across parts of southern New England. There's that more spotty nature of the wind still going on across central portions of New England. Portsmouth, Salisbury, gusting 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. Look at Manchester, gusting to 19. Big difference that's showing up there, right? Northern New England, seeing the same type of thing here, where there are spots that the cool air is holding on. Plymouth, at the base of the White Mountains, 17 miles an hour on gusts. Freiburg, same thing. But other than that, you get into exposed areas, you're starting to see those winds take up. Even in the Crown of Maine, Madawaska gusting to 33 miles an hour. Burlington has hit 43, and we'll take another look and a little scan up across northern New England in a short period of time. Let's get to the New England wide radar. We know that you watch us from all over, and we very much appreciate that. To everybody who's tuning in from anywhere across northern New England, we know you've had a rough and tumble morning. You've had a number of incidences with wind damage on the western slopes of the Green Mountains and then on the northwestern slopes of the Whites. We've seen some of that around Franconia and Sugar Hill. Now you've got what was a band of thunderstorms. It's moving east, but it has weakened. There really isn't much in the way of lightning anymore. We can track lightning here, absolutely. There's actually another site that I really like for lightning that I'll show you in a minute. One of the things I like to do is share with you some of the tools we look at so that you have an idea if you want to look at them at home. See a brand new damage report. Looks like just came in, unless I'm just forgetting, but let's take a look. Here we go, 58 miles per hour now in Hull. So 58 mile per hour measured wind gust in Hull, Massachusetts. Again, this is the time of strongest wind that's occurring across eastern portions of Massachusetts. So not surprising to see these numbers continue to come in. Standing at 17,000 for without power in Massachusetts and about 72,000 across New England at large. Appreciate all the updated chats that are coming in here. Branches falling all over the place by Upton State Forest. Lights are flickering, says Art. Again, this coming in the chat. If you want to take part in the chat, let me know what's going on and let your fellow New Englanders know what's going on. It is all part of the shared experience of what we do here with regard to weather, right? So the chat is pretty easy to access for us overall. I think what you're going to look for here is if you are on social media watching us, all you have to do is comment on the post. Same thing on the YouTube post that is the this live stream post. If you are watching our stream, our 24-hour streaming network, you can watch us on a smart TV by just going into the YouTube app and searching for 1 Degree Outside Network. But if you're watching at 1degreeoutside.live, there's a chat built right into the page there as well. So feel free to take part in that. It's a way to communicate with me right away and tell me what you're seeing and what's going on in your neighborhood. But back to the chat we go. Steady rain in New Boston, New Hampshire. Thank you, David Jacobs. Appreciate that. Wind not bad so far. Lots of snow sliding off the roof. Yeah, you know what, David? It is exactly that wind, that snow that's protecting you from the wind right now. Even just having that bit of snow that's still on the ground allows for colder, more dense air to stay in place. So the wind is screaming up off the ground. We looked at it on radar a few minutes ago, and you're blowing right now about 95 to 100 miles an hour at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet off the deck. But it's hard to get that to mix down when you get that cold, dense air. All right, Michelle says, knock my large grill over. And like every single metal chair I have outside is turned over in Easton, Massachusetts. Hang in there, Michelle. This is the worst period of wind for you here over the next hour or two. Karen says North Andover's not bad. All right, Diesel says potential freeze tonight. Yes, I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Crazy weather feels like spring, says Frank. Agreed. Thanks for always being there, Matt. You bet, Carolyn. You bet. Great to have everybody here. Power out in Foxborough. Sirens everywhere. That's what's spreading east right now. Peabody, very windy, says Paula Harris. You bet, Paula. This is going to be the period of worst wind for you in Peabody coming up over the next 90 minutes or so, because that stuff that's down in Foxborough with sirens all over the place is coming in on top of you. But let's go ahead and answer that question about are we getting a freeze? The answer is yes. Let me see if I can take you along the timeline and show you what's happening. Quick update on the gusts as we do it. Worcester Airport has just gusted to 55. Rutland's gusts are back up to 51 miles an hour after gusting over 70 on the northwest side of the Greens earlier this morning. Norwood's gusting 54. Webster, Dudley gusting 54. Logan Airport, Danielle just let me know that 64 now at Logan. So you're seeing 57. That should update momentarily. Logan Airport has just gusted to 64 miles an hour. Farther north that we go, talking about, again, gusts that are strongest when you get in the hilly terrain. Bedford Airport, Hanscom Air Force Base down in Lexington, Bedford, 47 miles per hour, the gust right now. And again, in northern New England, depends on where you are, gusting worse on the northern and western slopes of the whites and the greens. Forecast wind, we're getting to that freeze here in a moment. Going to continue to move east. There it is, east of Penobscot by the time we get to about 4:45. The rest of us, we stay windy as we get to the overnight. The gusts may go 40 to 50, but there's a huge difference. The gusts blow out of the west. Carries in colder air, but our trees are hardened on a westerly wind. You don't get as much damage done gusting 50 out of the west as you do gusting 50 out of the south-southeast, for example. But speaking of 50, notice by 5 a.m., you're still gusting to 50 at Pittsfield. Here are the temperatures right now. Where's the cold air? Look on the left side of the screen there, right? Out by Watertown, it's 38 degrees. So that's why I say it's not going to be a flash freeze, at least for the vast majority of us. You are not going to instantly go down to 32 and ice everything over. It's going to be a fast freeze, but not a flash freeze. Let me show you why that's important, because when you have the wind that'll continue to gust and the relative humidity that will be dropping after about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, that allows for drying of the ground to happen before you ever get down to freezing. So notice we get to 6:45. Again, not really a flash freeze. Biggest concerns, Berkshires, when you run up and through southern Vermont, temperatures drop down to freezing and you get a little bit of snow. Probably going to be an inch or two of snow that can fall in the Berkshires. Probably going to be about the same at some of the Greens and up in the northern whites. So what about the 495 and 95 belt? There, right there. There you go. When you get to about 9 or 10 o'clock, the 495 belt drops down to freezing. I think that our biggest concern when you get around the Mass Pike is going to be, see those scattered rain and snow showers still left over? That's the issue. The main rain band is shutting down in the next couple of hours. The problem is there's still enough energy that if you get one of these scattered rain or snow showers to bubble up, well, now you've done that as your temperature is ready to drop below freezing at about 9 o'clock this evening, 10 o'clock this evening, right? So that becomes more of a problem. Even Boston, it's possible as we get past 10 o'clock, you drop below freezing. The one thing that's going to be a bit of a saving grace here in some spots, particularly inside 495, is that it's been so mild today that your pavement temperatures and your ground temperatures are actually up around 60 right now, 55 to 60. You say, that sounds kind of elevated. Yeah, but they've matched the air temperature, which is in the 50s now as well. Plus, whatever weak solar input you get through the clouds can help a little bit too. So that's going to take a little while to cruise down. So while the air temperature comes down below freezing, you'd see after midnight, just about everyone's below freezing. The Cape goes below as well. The fact that you've got the consistent wind and you've got the relative humidity that'll be dropping and you've got ground temperatures that are going to stay a little bit warm for a while means that you probably don't end up with an ice situation inside of I-95 until you get to somewhere between 2 and 5 in the morning. And by that point, it's more going to be where the patchy moisture is left over rather than a widespread sheet of ice, if that makes sense. Low temperatures tonight end up bottoming out in the 20s or teens in northern New England. Tomorrow actually isn't bad. It's going to be breezy still, but you get temperatures that can rebound to 35 to 40 degrees or so. So is there a wind chill? Yes, it's going to be in the 20s a lot of the day. But this is not going to be one of those big Arctic blasts that comes in like we've had with some of our recent storms. The feels like temperature or the wind chill for Saturday at the warmest time of the day, 20s north, lower 30s south. And then overnight tomorrow night, you drop back down to the 20s to around freezing in some parts of southern New England. Again, it really isn't bad, right? Because actually by Sunday, the next disturbance is coming in. This one will spread some late day snow showers across the north country of New England. Doesn't do a whole lot for the rest of us, but notice what it does do. It brings in enough milder air that by Sunday, you're likely finding temperatures that are running up into the 40s. So that's a step in the right direction anyway. Again, predicted wind gusts through this afternoon. You'll continue to watch everything kind of plow off to the east, and really really it's these next couple of hours that will be the most concerning time frame for us. So that's kind of the overview on how things are going to be breaking down. To bring you back to our current gusts across New England, again, you're seeing 57 at Boston, but we know from Danielle that we just saw a gust of 64 miles per hour at Logan Airport. So certainly the big time for the wind is now. And speaking of Danielle, are you ready for me to bring you in?
Oh, sure.
Great. Hi. So, hi, what do you have for us?
Oh, nothing crazy. The New England power outages just jumped up to over 100,000 in the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
So it went from like 50 to 75 to 120,000.
Okay.
So big ramp up in the last 30 minutes.
Who's leading the way right now? What state? Is it Connecticut? Because they saw, yeah.
But then Massachusetts not far behind. Connecticut has 48,000 without power. Massachusetts 30. Vermont 20,000. Rhode Island's about 15, and then less in New Hampshire and Maine.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. And Vermont is, I know you said them, they're third?
Yeah, third.
Okay.
Just over 20,000.
Which is interesting because Vermont saw probably so far, along with Blue Hill Observatory, the worst wind yet.
Yeah.
72 miles an hour, which is exactly what we did at Blue Hill. But at the same time, you have fewer folks that live there, right? So your outage numbers are always going to be less. Your percentages might be high, but your total numbers are going to be less overall. One of the things that I can do, and I'll go ahead and bring it back in, is I can bring us over to some of our, let me bring up the browser, to some of our cams across the area and give you an idea for what's going on. Let's see if I can do that effectively. Give me a second here. We'll do this. There we go. Browser in, and let's do it. There we go. All right.
Logan, understandably, is a mess right now. They've got a over an hour delay because of wind. So.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay. So here are the cams that we have now. Some of these cams are coming. That one's not available, but that one's not available. There we go. Some of these cams are coming from the Boston, Maine live cams. Which, by the way, if you watch on our streaming network at OneDegreeOutside.live, or if you're watching in the app on the streaming network, or if you're on your smart TV and you go into the YouTube app and you do a search for 1 Degree Outside Network, you'll be able to see the Boston, Maine cams on the left side of the screen. We love them. We really appreciate the partnership with Boston, Maine Live. Allows us streaming cameras like this, and this is a great example of what I was talking about earlier. Shrewsbury, like, where's the wind, man? There's nothing going on. I mean, it is calm, right? Any amount of cold air that's left over is going to cause problems in terms of getting the wind down to the surface. Now, here's Marlborough, different scene. I mean, it's not like it's whipping, right? But at the same time, you can see that flag is pulled taut. No question about that. And that is, again, because notice there's no snow on the ground left there. There's not much in the way of cold air that's left to scour out. Now, you start coming south and east, and let's see if we can get some of these streams that will actually be up and working for us. We'll go down to Bourne. There we go, Cape Cod Canal. Let's get a good look at that and see how it looks. I'll bring it toward the center of the screen so you get a better view for it, and I'll also set us up for some of the other cams. Again, it doesn't look terrible right now at Bourne, but we know that the winds have been gusting in spots over 50 miles an hour. Farther south still, the Seacrest Beach live cam. Now that one doesn't want to load up for us. There we go. This is right on the water at the Eel Pond Marine Biological Laboratory. So you got it's windy. I don't know that would be overwhelming, certainly. And then we'll go over to the Heights Beach, and there's the surf coming in. This was interesting, Danielle, and I know you talked about this in some of the videos too, right? Is the surf is building on the order of 8 to 17 feet today, right along the coastline. Yes. But there's no real storm surge that we have to worry about with that overall, is there?
Nope, not much surge, which is great news.
Yeah, the timing of the tide certainly worked in our favor. There's no question about that. What else do we have for cams that are working and showing up right now? Here's Hanover. Again, windy, yeah. Extreme, no. But it seems like the wind is kind of coming in fits and starts. There's Tim Kelly's cam. If you missed him, he was on our podcast this past week. It was great to have meteorologist Tim Kelly with us. By the way, if you want to see more about our podcast, go to membership.onedegreeoutside.com. But it was awesome. Tim did what he always does and does best. In the 20-plus years that I worked with him at NECN, he just kind of cracked open his brain with weather knowledge on New England. And it was a lot of fun. So if you could check that podcast out, make sure you do. And that's nonetheless, you can see I love the fact too, he's got his birch tree trunk that's up there for his overall setup with his flagpole. It's fantastic. Farther up the North Shore, this is the view from Ocean House Surf and Skate at Nahant. Looks like we're out at Swampscott right now. There's Beverly. We got a lot of wind that's cranking in right now. Ipswich looks like we're down. I bet Newburyport's working at the mouth of the Merrimack. There it is. Yeah, absolutely. So you can see the white caps out there as well that are blowing in off the ocean. So there you go. You've got a little bit of an overview of what's happening right now with regard to our cams. I want to get back to our chat, but before I do that, I'll make sure that I bring us back over to the live wind gusts so you can see what's happening here. Block Island, National Weather Service Skywarn Spotter Network reporting an 80-mile-per-hour gust at Block Island that just came in a short time ago. So again, gusting to 80 miles per hour at Block Island. We've already gusted to 64 at Logan. Danielle, anything new coming in that you're seeing over there?
No, just numbers spiking, understandably, in Massachusetts, an additional 3,000 in the last 10 minutes. So I'm sure those numbers will just continue to climb in the next, hour or two.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Let's chime in on the chat and see what's going on. Do you have the chat pulled up over there, Danielle, or should I pull it up here? Okay, great. I got it over here. No problem. So Sharon has a lot of power outages, says Neil. Very good. I just didn't know if folks wanted to break from hearing my voice. I was gonna have you share the chat so they could hear beautiful voice instead. Wild winds in Weymouth right now, says Darlene. Thank you very much. Chris says breezy in Wolfboro, snowpack almost gone. So this is our time, Chris, I guess, right? If we're losing our snowpack, where you might be able to break through some of the wind. But look at Laconia, gusting to 19, right? Makes a huge, huge difference if you've got any of that leftover. And I'll zoom you in a little bit more. If you've got any of that leftover cold air, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily snow, but any of the cold air that's left helps to protect you. And that's why you go from 40 at Manchester to 30 at Concord to 19 at Laconia on gusts right now. Fitchburg's down a little bit from gusting over 45 earlier, although you'll go back up again. This is the time you're getting the worst corridor of wind. Lexington's blowing 48 right now. That's actually technically at Hanscom Air Force Base, just so you know. But nonetheless, you can see where some of that has been kind of spread out for us now as well. Back to the chat we go, so I can get you some more of the updates that you're sharing with us. Wow, Chris says that snowpack in Wolfboro went in about 3 hours. That's all it took to eat that away. Let's see, howling in Norwood right now. Yeah, you gusted over 50 at Norwood already over at the Memorial Airport, Greg. We expect that to be continue to be the case. Okay, not surprising, Bill. Really appreciate the update. And yeah, you know what? I should have mentioned this. Thank you, Bill. FYI, the Steamship Authority and Highline have started canceling the high-speed ferries. Makes a lot of sense. I think somewhere in here I've got set up an overview on some of our waves, so I'll pull that up for us as soon as I find it so you can see what's going on out there. We're kind of doing it on the fly as we go through because we know we want to pull up whatever seems to be the most pertinent information at the time. So let me see if I can find the waves and bring those into play as well. Meanwhile, let's see other chat kind of chime-ins that we have here coming in from folks. We've got folks watching all the way from northern Vermont. Let's see, in Holden, the wind snapped my cast iron flag holder. Sorry to hear that. Oh, no. That stinks. But nonetheless, thanks for keeping us posted on the report there. Latest report out of MEMA, we now have doubled our power outages just since I gave you the last update, or Danielle gave us the last update that we got. We're now at 33,240 in the state of Mass. I know, Danielle, you've been keeping track of the numbers across New England as well, so how are we looking there?
They just keep going up. 130,000 now. Throughout New England. Connecticut just almost doubled. So there are nearly 60,000 without power in Connecticut. So they're the highest right now. And then we are close second in Massachusetts with 33,000. Vermont and Rhode Island still around 20. So over 100,000 without power across New England right now.
Well, good news on this one is there's no injury that comes in. Let me do a bigger view for you so you can see a little bit more of what's going on across New England instead of just being at central New England where we last had this, so you can get an idea for what it's like in your neighborhood. There we go.
Would you get a new damage report?
Yeah, so this is out of Boston, and this is something that we see all the time when we have significant wind. A scaffolding has collapsed from a building at Heath Street in Boston, but the great news, nobody was injured. Good. You have to assume, there's been so much, kind of warning and heads up on this leading into this that hopefully the folks who were there knew that this was coming, so they didn't have anybody up there, I hope. But nonetheless, you always worry about the folks who were under it, and it sounds like everything is going okay overall there, even though there was a scaffolding collapse.
Okay, that's good. Amanda says, I do have the chat up now, so
good.
I can kind of let you know as you're steering over there. It says, how much worse is it going to get in Plymouth, Massachusetts?
It's a great question, and the answer is not much worse than it is now. You're at your worst right now in Plymouth, but you probably get about another hour of wind like this, maybe hour and a half, because you got to look at the fact that it's gusting to 50 in Hartford, right? And that's still going to come east. Let me go ahead and pull up the wind forecast for you, and I'll play things through a little bit slower than I did earlier. So notice Plymouth, you're still gusting over 60. What's the time? Look in the upper left there. That's at 1:30 in the afternoon, and still at 60 at 2. And watch it drop. Ready? 55 at 2:15. 57, 230. There it goes. 49 by 3. So that's why really.
Few hours,
yep. Next couple hours is going to be. And I would say that is probably worst case scenario for you. Chances are good you're going to find the improvement again in the next 90 minutes or so, by the way things are looking out in Connecticut. And then it's worth noting that if you're watching from the coast of Maine, there's 5 p.m. Your worst in mid-coast down east is actually going to be as we head along about 5 o'clock this evening. So that's going to be a time that you'll be watching, let's say around Bar Harbor and Machias and Eastport. So something to keep in mind there. And then for the rest of us, as I showed you earlier, but if you're just tuning in, we're still going to get gusts tonight. You ready? 40, 50. That's 8:15 this evening. But a huge difference, which is that wind is out of the west. We're used to that. And when I say we're used to that, our trees are used to that, right? There's no leaves on the trees. It's not acting like a sail. You know, in the summertime, you get a wind event like this, and the leaves are catching the wind like sails, pulling down the trees and soft ground. In this case, you could do that with the higher wind gust. But you start blowing 40, 50 out of the west, you'll get some limbs that'll come down, maybe something that was weakened during the day today. You're not going to get the same kind of damage that you're going to get coming out of a south-southeasterly wind. It does, however, continue a lot of the night, which is pretty impressive, right? I mean, look at Pittsfield, Mass., Bennington, Vermont, Keene, New Hampshire, Fitchburg, still gusting near 50 at 2:15 in the morning. And for that matter, all the way to 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's going to be a windy, kind of howling night. It's just not going to be as bad as what we've been dealing with now.
We got a SIGMET out, significant severe turbulence coming into Logan.
Okay.
Which makes sense. So just for flights coming in and out, I'm sure it's a pretty bumpy ride right
I'm
now.
sure it is. Absolutely. Yep. Sky One Spotter Network, the director says it's bedlam here. They've got so many reports coming in.
Can't keep up with them.
Over 600 reports in the last hour.
In the last hour.
600 in the last hour alone, and there was 245 in the hour and a half preceding that. So, I mean, hats off. The Sky One Spotter Network does an incredible job, but you're coming up with 1,000 reports that they're going through here that are coming in across New England. That's one for every city and town in all 6 states.
I feel like we get numerous gusts, that go over 40 miles per hour, but it's that 50 threshold. And like to your point about the south-southeast wind, when we're seeing gusts 50 to 60, that's a totally different game than 40 to 50 miles per hour.
Well, and the south-southeast is a different game. I mean, that's
the
that's
combo
huge.
Of those two things is really
100%.
Any embedded thunder or lightning in that little
So
line?
we're getting close now. Yeah, when we get down around, this is going to be another area that you may have some enhanced damage done. Is coming out of Fall River. This is a pretty good forced band of what we call convection. Basically, this is when the air is being thrust rapidly up into the sky. Well, the problem is what goes up must come down. So if you've got air getting thrust rapidly upward, that means you have the chance of developing some enhanced downburst wind as well. We've seen this already in upstate New York and in Pennsylvania. This is where some of the worst gusts were reported, was immediately along lines like this that we're developing. So even without any cloud-to-ground lightning right now, this is just coming into Somerset, Fall River, and Dighton. It's going to continue to spread out through Lakeville, Carver, Acushnet, New Bedford, and it will likely continue to hold together all the way to the South Shore. So someplace like Duxbury, someplace like Plymouth, someplace like Marshfield. Marshfield, you might end up a little bit farther north than this, but the idea here is that your worst wind may actually come as this starts to come right overhead. Let's go through the last 30 minutes. I'm going to load the loop for you so you can see. And there's that line just now. Let me zoom out. Just starting to come together. So this is my concern, is it may give us some stronger gusts as it moves off to the east-northeast than what we've had so far. All right, I'll stop the loop now. And one of the things I could do is I can do towns and times. This stuff, I mean, it's flying along. So let me see. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I can actually get a reasonable estimate on how fast some of this stuff is moving, because I'm going to guess it's probably somewhere on the order of about 65 miles per hour. But let's see. The estimates here, 68 knots. So that would be somewhere about 51 knots. So, yeah, you're going to be going 60, 65. So if we draw this out, we'll go ahead and take this as a squall line. And we'll bring it out to the east-northeast. Let's get it at about its rate of speed, which is probably about 65-ish. So there's your towns and times. is a long list of them. But if you're watching on your cell phone, it's almost impossible to see them on that little screen. So I can share some of them with you. New Bedford about 12:29, Plimpton perhaps about 12:30, Carver at about 12:32, Rochester, Massachusetts at about 12:32, Kingston at about 12:35, Wareham at about 12:37, Plymouth at 12:37, Duxbury 12:39, Bourne about 12:45, and then Wellfleet at about 1:10. So that is one of the things. Danielle, do you happen to have? Probably not. Our messaging system loaded up there.
Yeah.
Our messaging. If we could, why don't we give the Duxbury area just a little bit of a heads up on the fact that looks like perhaps some of the strongest gusts will continue for 90 minutes, but the worst will be in somewhere around 12:40. That might be beneficial there.
Got it.
Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue to take a view on a larger scene here and see what's going on farther to the north. Again, the rain not as heavy as it was earlier on the North Shore and the Merrimack Valley. The wind is still howling and pounding, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Seeing a new report coming out of Narragansett Bay short time ago, 60-mile-per-hour measured wind gust at Kennemicut Light. Very good. Let's see, a report coming in out of Duxbury. What do we have going on in Duxbury right now? A sustained wind at 26 right now. Gusts are going 35 at a 10-minute wind speed, but nonetheless, we're at 57 degrees. So that is in advance of this line that's coming in toward Duxbury. And again, this is going to be an area that we're going to watch over the course of particularly the next 20 minutes. So just something to be aware of there. So let's go ahead and take a little bit view again, a little bit bigger view on the wind. Let me wipe away what we have in terms of the towns and times. I'll update that for you again here in just a moment. We now have 42,000 without power in the state of Massachusetts. We now have crossed into 95% of the town of Pepperell without power. Let me go ahead and bring that map up for you so you can get an idea of where we're finding our worst outages right now. And one thing I mentioned earlier is that we weren't seeing towns that were standouts in terms of a huge percentage, but we were seeing a larger number of towns without power. Look at it now. I mean, we've almost filled in the entirety of the southeast quadrant of Massachusetts with outages of some sort. Even if they're green for a relatively low percentage, a number of towns are dealing with this. This is a bit of an issue, not only because you're losing power, obviously, but because you got to figure that the utility crews now, rather than saying like a downburst thunderstorm, we're going to go to this town, we're going to make these repairs, we're going to get everybody back online in the next 2 hours, right? Is a different story. Think about the fact that you got to fan out everybody across this entire area. So even though you've got a smaller percentage per town, you may have a longer duration outage that takes place. We are up to 46% of the town of Franklin without power now. We're also looking at 25% of Holliston without power. And again, this has been following with some of that worst wind that's been slowly moving east. 53% in New Salem, Massachusetts without power, and about 94% of West Brookfield, which is not a large number. It's under 2,000. But nonetheless, you get the idea that we're finding that quarter of wind now settling in eastern Mass that is likely going to be kind of the worst of the wind that we've got overall that's coming through us. Let's go ahead and bring you over to the radar again so you can get a better feel for that line that we've been watching. Again, Danielle and I concerned about the fact that this line in particular, where the yellows and oranges are, may force some strongest gusts down to the ground because we've seen that happen in New York and we've seen that happen in Pennsylvania. It makes sense when you get strong downpours, they can bring wind down to the surface. If you want to know what the wind actually is doing inside of that downpour, I can do that for you. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'm going to switch things over now to the velocity plot, and this will kind of, well, for lack of a better term, blow you away. It is pretty amazing to see where some of these winds are. We can probe inside the center of this, and just outside of Fall River, that's an 81-mile-per-hour sustained radar-estimated wind that's blowing right now between Tiverton and Somerset, just south of Fall River, and moving off to the east. Kennemicut Light has just gusted to 66 miles per hour. National Weather Service Skywarn Spotter Network reporting a 61 mile mile-per-hour gust at Coventry, Connecticut. So again, these are the areas that we believe are going to be most vulnerable is along this line. But having said that, where the wind is mixing down to the ground farther to the north, this is still going to be an issue because look at, you ready for this? Look at the estimated wind over Ipswich. 109 miles per hour. That radar beam, it goes straight up into the sky out of Taunton at the National Weather Service radar. So you're running about a 3,000, 3,500 probably foot height somewhere over Ipswich. So that 109 mile an hour wind is way up in the sky. But you understand now how you can get a gust over 60, right? You can mix a fraction of that down to the ground, and it becomes problematic for us. I want to get back over to the regular radar. Here is your updated view of that squall line that's been developing. I am going to give you another time and town track for you here so you can see what we're looking at. Let's draw it out on the leading edge because we believe that may be where some of the worst is. But I'll tell you, the reports in New York and Pennsylvania suggest that actually anywhere under that line has the potential of producing substantial gusts. So again, for those of you that are watching on a small screen, I'll help you out. Let me go ahead and transition over to the radar. There we go. So here are your towns and times, and I'll help you out for those of you on a small screen. Plimpton, about 12:29. The leading edge of this band is going to be moving in on top of you, so that is about 5 minutes out. Pembroke at about 12:31. Kingston about 12:33. Duxbury, we've sped you up a little bit. You were at 12:39. You're at a 12:36 arrival on this. 12:36 arrival to Marshfield as well. New Bedford, same deal. When you get into Wareham, about 12:41, and Bourne at about 12:50. And again, remember, that's the arrival of this. It may continue to produce some focused wind gusts over the period of about 15 to 30 minutes as it comes through.
And some of the South Shore communities are reporting just a ton of calls even in the last 30 minutes. So I'm sure those call volume will continue to go up here.
That makes a lot of sense. Through. Absolutely. Do you have our chat that's open in front of you there?
Chat or the other?
Any of them.
Yep.
Yep. Great. So we can hear from folks and see what they've been saying.
Sounds good. So, whoops.
Hi from Plymouth. Rain, quite a bit of wind. Thank you for that. A 46 mile per hour gust at 11:06. Now 25 to 30 in Auburn. So Auburn, Mass, again, is in central Massachusetts. So this is a good indicator for you that the back edge of the wind has already come through Auburn, and it really does kind of drive home the idea that this band you're looking at coming in through southeastern Mass is probably going to be the big hurrah. It's not the last hurrah, but the big hurrah as it comes on by.
So Mike says you can hear a roar in the sky when it reaches damaging levels. You're so right. You can kind of hear that. The wind ramped up quickly in Foxborough. It was like a light switch turning it on. Paul Druniak, hi Paul, says phenomenal coverage. Looking at latest SPC pressure tendencies, a rise-fall couplet moving, maybe enhancing the gusts. Impressive. Great job. Thanks, Paul. Billy says only seeing the outage map. Okay, they changed the map. And talking about the cold layer protection, my anemometer is 10 feet off the ground and only gusted to 20, says Chuck. So, yeah, that cold layer protection and having that up just a little bit makes a difference. But you can hear that low-level jet certainly roaring. Billy says thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. And you can see the gusts still 55 to 60 out to Norwich, and then you get a little bit of that drop. So I trust the reports coming in from our chat and the folks on this live stream more than I trust these observations. The observations are accurate. It's just the fact that they don't update as frequently as some of you who are updating us. So to hear that things are beginning to quiet in Auburn, keep us posted on the chat if you get it ticking back up again, because that would mean that some of this is still kind of left over, these vestiges of wind farther to the west. But I think for right now, we probably are looking at what is the back edge, relatively speaking anyway, that's coming in with that line we've been tracking. And I'll get you back to that map in just a short period of time. We've had a little bit of thunder and lightning north and east of Penobscot Bay in Maine, although that is now a little bit aged. That was over the course of the last hour or so. But let me see if I can get you back in across the radar analysis and see a good feel for what's happening now with regard to that line as it comes in. I'm going to wipe out the old towns and times, and we'll just track it in live real time for you here. So essentially coming right up 27 now. Some of the heavier downpours that probably are focusing heavier wind right over Brockton, East Bridgewater and Abington, continuing to move east. Hanover and Pembroke, you're right on the edge of this focused band. There are times that these focused bands of rain actually give us less wind because the air is traveling upward as opposed to traveling in a straight line. In this particular instance, at least so far today, we've noticed that when the bands have been developing, it has been the opposite. We've actually seen the downpours carrying the wind down down to the surface, and it's been a little bit more focused. So that means that when you get down around Lakeville and Route 140 between Lakeville and Acushnet, this is going to be another area that we'll watch very carefully. Coming out of Berkeley off 24 and across 140, the 495 belt around Middleborough is going to be under the gun here for some of the more focused wind gusts. Plimpton, you're just getting the first round of downpours. You've got another one that's waiting over by Taunton and coming down Route 18. That'll be on top of you within about the next 20 minutes or so. These things are moving about 65 miles per hour. We're also getting better organization down to the south coast. I want you to be aware of what's happening here. We're seeing more of the organization now coming over Newport, Rhode Island, and the entrance to Narragansett Bay. This is going to continue to move east, and that means that as it comes out over Tiverton, New Bedford, you're going to deal with this because not only do you have the rain that's on top of you now, but you've got that more focused band of rain that I'll circle for you here that is coming just out of Tiverton and moving out of Newport. And that's going to go right up over Buzzards Bay. Falmouth, Woods Hole, Cuttyhunk, running all the way up to the north end of Buzzards Bay. This also has the potential to focus wind for you. Again, gusts with some of the strongest gusts have been over 70 miles per hour. Connecticut Light has gusted to 66 when this band has come through. So we believe that that remains entirely possible with this thing as it comes on by. Let's get farther to the north again. Wrentham, Massachusetts, just gusted to 60. Now, keep in mind, this is all real time. That is from the National Weather Service Sky1 Spotter Network. So what you're seeing here is faster than anything else you'll see, because what happens is we have a beautiful partnership with the Sky1 Spotter Network. They take this information and they share it with us, and they're also, of course, relaying it in real time to the National Weather Service as well. So from that point, the National Weather Service puts it into a storm report and disseminates it to the public. So what we're able to do with this chat is we're able to get it to you right away. We appreciate all of those of you who continue to chime in as well. Danielle, I see you've got some updated power outage numbers.
Yeah, I was just looking, about 140,000 across New England. I'm waiting on the latest update for Massachusetts. I'm assuming these numbers are really going to spike in the next 30 minutes or so, but about 42,000 now in Massachusetts. 42,000 without power, and 53% in New Salem, the most, like you were saying, in Pepperell, 95%, but a good chunk too when you get from Franklin up to Holliston, over towards Mendon and the Blackstone Valley as well.
Got you. Okay, very good. Let's see. We've got Chuck who says, talking about the cold air protection, my anemometer is 10 feet off the ground. Wind is 12 miles per hour, gusting only to 20. All right, Chuck, I'm not sure where you're at exactly, what town, but nonetheless, yeah, you must have some of that cool air that's still very much in place. Let's see. Leanne says, thank you for the coverage. What time do you think the power companies will be able to get people to start working to get the power back on? And what time do we no longer have to be concerned about power outages?
Great question.
Yup, the Future Dash adds to that from the same area as you, Leanne, and says massive outages now in Methuen. So, look, to answer the question, I think that the worst of the outages is going to be between now and about 2:30 this afternoon, maybe 2 p.m. It might be even sooner than that. We're probably down under 90 minutes left. That's the worst. And one of the things that Danielle and I were talking about earlier is the fact that you've got what really is a south-southeasterly or southerly wind. Our trees are not hardened to that, Leanne, for you.
Normal.
That's right. Yeah, Merrimack Valley is like everybody else around this area. Westerly wind, northwesterly wind, we can handle that. So we're going to gust all night, 40 to 50.
Northeast. Yeah, did you say
northeast. We're hardened to that too. Yep. So we're going to gust all night at 40 to 50. But first of all, it's different than 50 to 60. And secondly, it's a totally different direction. So the worst outages are in the next 90 minutes.
Although to the point of getting up there and being able to fix the outages, I know some of the companies have a threshold. Isn't it 35 to 40?
For the bucket trucks, you mean?
For the bucket trucks,
yeah.
Sorry. Yes, that's what I meant. So it'll take some time before they'll be able to get up there and be able to do some of the work.
100%. I mean, to that end, if you're just joining us and you didn't see this earlier, one of the things that we looked at is just the sheer coverage of power outages right now, and the fact that you've got, look at the number of towns without power.
Yeah, it just went up. So I had just said 42,000, it's up to 64.
64.
So it just spiked in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And really, one of the things that stands out to me is, you got a couple of towns that stand out as being the biggest, offenders here in terms of power outages.
But the overall coverage is so big.
To Leanne's point about when's power going to be back. The problem here is that, God bless them, the utility folks are going to have to go around to all these different towns to restore power. So it may only be 5%. Let's take an example, right? Carver, it's 7 customers without power. good luck if you're one of those 7 customers on getting it back anytime.
Oh, no.
I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I think that's the reality when you look at this kind of a setup overall. Plainville's got 52% without power right now, so that's been going up. Dover, 65% without power, 32% at Medfield. Interesting, I want to go to North Andover. North Andover, 2 customers without power. So according to the MEMA map, there may be more than that. This has a little bit of a lag. Same thing, Methuen. We heard massive outages in the chat, and thank you for the report there.
But not
obviously,
showing up yet.
Yeah, it obviously hasn't gone through to the MEMA map
Just slightly
yet.
delayed, right? Usually it takes some time before it can, for some folks you get the email or you lose power and then you can plot it on the map and then that will go through this system.
Yeah.
So it takes a little time to convert that. But I
Very
love
true.
that these reports keep coming in and we get like a first look at what's going on.
It's awesome. This is one of the real strengths of doing a live stream like this. And this is not us tooting our horn. This is us tooting your horn. You guys. I mean, it's incredible. This is what it's 2025. This is what it's about, right? Have the technology bring us together so that we can share the story and you know what's coming before it comes. So you got the update that in Auburn, Massachusetts, the wind had just dropped down, right, over the course of 20 minutes. So we know that when you get behind this line, you're starting to see a drop in wind. We know that the wind is going to kick worse out ahead of this line because it's been doing that the entire time. Blue Hill Observatory has already gusted to 72 miles per hour, and so we know that that's been a substantial gust for us with elevation. Continuing to get reports out of the National Weather Service Skywarn Spotter Network. We appreciate that partnership and the fact that we continue to get those kind of observations and damage reports in real time. You keep it. Blue Hill just went 79. Blue Hill has just gone 79 miles an hour now. So we've got
Blue Hill 600 feet in elevation.
It is. And by the way, for those curious, Blue Hill is located southwest of Boston. So essentially, it's this line we've been tracking right here that is producing, sure enough, the worst gusts. Here it comes, South Shore. Here it comes, South Coast. All right, Weymouth is dealing with it right now. Quincy, it's on top of you. Cohasset, Scituate, Hull, running all the way down through Marshfield, Duxbury, Plymouth, Carver to Sandwich. We believe, based upon reports throughout the day in upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, and now given the fact that we just saw the gust to Rentham that was 60 miles an hour and a gust to Blue Hill at 79, that this is going to be your worst wind as it comes in on top of you over the course of about the next 15 minutes or so, I would say, for some of these. Let's do another town and time. We have not done that recently, and I want to make sure that we get that for you so you can see the update. It's been a pretty steady pace, running on the order of about 65 miles per hour or so. Here is your leading edge. I'm going to draw it all the way out southwest of the Vineyard. And here we go. Why don't we bring it? There we go. Let's bring it through Nantucket as well because we know it's probably going to hold together on that south side. All right, here we go. We'll do the towns and times for you again, and we know that some of you are watching on a cell phone. That is the whole idea of being digital, is you can watch us anytime, anywhere. So if you are, it might be hard to see the towns and times, so we'll share them with you. By the way, if you are watching on a cell phone and you'd like to watch at a bigger screen and you're near a computer, go to OneDegreeOutside.live. If you're watching on a cell phone, you'd like to see a bigger screen, and you got a smart TV, open up the YouTube app and do a search for 1 Degree Outside Network, and you'll find us live there. You'll be able to watch this, and then you don't have to squint at the screen anymore. If you got the big screen, you've already seen it. If you don't, updated towns and times, 12:38 at Pembroke, Plimpton about 12:39. We've been holding very, very steady on some of these arrival times. Duxbury, you've got the front end that's in on top of you now. So you had about a 12:39 arrival originally that we put to 12:38. You're pretty much into that right now, but this line that's really converging is a second line that's taking shape off to the west. That's a 12:45 arrival time to Duxbury, a 12:46 arrival time to Rochester, Mattapoisett at about 12:49, Bourne at about 12:58, again on that second line. So the way you could kind of think about this is imagine as though the leading edge that's just come in is going to be the area where you're seeing the beginning of the period of strongest wind, and on the back edge is going to be the end of the period where you're seeing the strongest wind. So considering the fact that you've got this moving, at about 65 miles per hour, you don't have a lot longer to go with the worst wind. You've probably got about a half hour. And that's not to mislead and tell you it's going to cut out and be all done after that, but rather that does appear to be probably the worst of the wind going on. Let's see if we can get some of those real-time observations to back that up. because I don't mind telling you that's what we think is going to happen, but it's a lot better when nature goes along with it. By the way, just in from the National Weather Service Skywarn Spotter Network, 65-mile-per-hour gust out of Attleboro, Massachusetts, right along that back line that has developed.
Would you say 65? Yep. That makes sense?
Yep, 65-mile-an-hour gusts there. Notice you're starting to get, it's a little more sporadic. By the way, this happens so often. And this is something that we talked about with some of our partners in kind of discussing this event ahead of time. Notice the Cape is not gusting yet as bad as it is farther to the north and west. Reason for that is the ocean is cool right now. So that's a cool, dense air. It tends to protect them. Not to say that no one at the Cape is going to be able to gust up over 50 or 60, right? But rather to say that it's not going to be as plentiful on those strong gusts as you're getting when you get away from the cool ocean water. We'll go up a little bit farther to the north because we know that you're watching from all over New England. We've heard from you in this live stream from Vermont, from Maine. Gusts are going 40 right now at Manchester. Lebanon, New Hampshire, up in the White River area is up to about 42 miles per hour now on your gust. Beverly, we've gusted to 47 at the Beverly Airport. And in northern New England, Burlington, Vermont, at the Burlington International Airport, 47 miles an hour. This again coming down, and it was originally sloping over the Green Mountains, which can cause acceleration. Now we've had something else going on that I can show you, which is you've had another focused band of rain, downpours, and damage that's been coming in through northern Vermont. So it's just about to come in on top of Morristown, Newport, and Derby. You'll be next. From Montpelier to St. Johnsbury, Linden, and the upper end of I-91. You're going to be in for another round of potentially damaging wind. That's what just moved through Burlington and caused the gust near 50 miles an hour. We believe that you're doing the same thing with elevation right now in Randolph, Vermont, and along I-89 when you get south of the state capital, as this continues to blast to the east. Now that Lebanon has scoured out some of the cold air, you will end up getting some localized damaging gusts in the upper valley. We've already had reports of damaging gusts in Franconia at Sugar Hill. And that was when it was sloping over the Whites coming out of the south-southeast. This wind is going to be a rapid shift to come out of the west, and it will be harder pressed to make it down to the valley floor around Littleton and Franconia, but it may do it. Some of the passes, when you get across northern New Hampshire through Crawford Notch, Franconia Notch, keep in mind that we have high-profile vehicles that are traveling Interstate 93. This blast will come in pretty good there. So if you are one of the folks who watches us while you are mobile on your phone, just keep in mind that you're going to have a lot of buffeting going on up around the passes and notches up in northern New Hampshire. Down to the south, an update on that line. Fall River's under it right now. I would expect we've got to get some pretty good gusts out of Fall River in pretty short order that are going to be coming in. Danielle, what do you have on your end? Anything new that you've been seeing?
Leanne just said the lights were just flickering. Curious for all the other
Leanne,
people.
where? That's in North Andover?
Yep, so thank you for that, Leanne. Hope you keep it on. Chris says lots of tree damage coming in from the Merrimack Valley. And then I think that's it for now for updates on that. Interestingly, I was just looking out in New York, to your point of flipping to snow and the flash freeze. They went from Rome, New York, went to the 50s and is now 32 with heavy snow.
Wow.
Right now. So.
Wow, that's amazing. And yeah, Rome is one of those areas, we can show it to you here, out by Utica, for those of you who know upstate New York. And so basically that's on the back edge to this. And this is the burst of snow that we expect to drop between encoding the 2 inches with elevation in the Berkshires. This is the burst of snow that we expect to bring whiteout conditions and what will be 1 to 2 inches of snow up and down the spine of the Greens, with amounts over 4 inches in the high terrain from Killington running all the way up to Jay Peak. So it is going to be a good blast for some of New England. And just keep that in mind if you're watching from Vermont right now, that you're going to find the roads deteriorate very rapidly in another couple of hours. So if you need to make the ride home from work, now's the time. I think the kids should be able to get out of school before we see a serious degradation to the roads there.
I did hear that some schools in northern New England, and particularly in Maine, were actually doing half days today because of the wind, and then some in northern Vermont because of that.
Okay.
Because of the freeze. So,
makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. And that is going to be another interesting situation for the kiddos getting out of school, right? Is that in some of these communities where we're having wind damage, you're going to have an issue where the buses are not necessarily going to have their normal routes they're going to be able to take. So if you're a parent who's watching this, please just be in the mindset for delays on the buses this afternoon in any number of towns in New England, but particularly when you get from Connecticut, central and eastern Mass into Rhode Island, Island. We think that there's enough damage and enough power crews that'll be around that these buses will have to go around bucket trucks. They'll have to go around some of the areas where the limbs have come down.
Well, congratulations. Massachusetts is now number one for states across New England with the most power outages now. So we're up to nearly 64,000. That number will go up in the next 3 minutes. We get the 15-minute updates, but we just overtook Connecticut. Connecticut was number one for power outages in the past hour and a half. But now Massachusetts is up to number one with 64,000 without power. Joe says no power in East Bridgewater. And the reason I paused earlier is because actually on Facebook, a couple of our members were going back and forth replying to each other, which is actually really cute, but that's why I wasn't saying. But now Massachusetts is number one for outages across New England.
Okay.
Statewide outages.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense, right? We get the most folks who are being directly impacted. And to that point, we do believe that the worst wind is probably going to come underneath this band that you see in yellow. It's heavy rain, but it's we're not guessing on that. We're able to tell you that so far
History has shown that.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at someplace like Walpole. Well, let's see, what is this? Norwood Airport gusted to 59. That was 11:43. 58 miles per hour. That was earlier as well. So you've heard more on the live stream than what we have out of the official reports. Mm-hmm. So just keep in mind that we have been seeing frequent high gusts underneath this band coming over Taunton and Somerset and Fall River right now.
Joey said he lost power in West Bridgewater, but 53 mile per hour gusts from his personal weather station.
Okay.
And he said it's just about 20 feet off the ground. So.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Berlin, Connecticut is gusted to 60 miles per hour from the National Weather Service Skywarn spotter network. And again, you're seeing the precipitation taper off pretty considerably back behind the band. And that also has led to the wind not ending, but tapering off fairly considerably for that matter as well. So this is very likely some of the worst period of wind coming through. I'll be curious to see what happens with that area of kind of developing downpour trying to become a thunderstorm that's over Long Island Sound. There is still a decent amount of wind that's up in the sky there. One thing I can do is try and get us switched over to, let's see. I'm going to see if I can get us switched over to the National Weather Service radar out of New York, out of Long Island. There we go. Okay. Let's get zoomed in on this. I'm just thinking for those of you along the South Coast, whether or not we're going to have to deal with this again for you. Let's go to the velocity plot. And, yeah, winds, I mean, when you contrast that with what's going on right now here, winds of 64 miles per hour with elevation, right? Okay, let's go ahead and we'll go to the Boston radar, and we'll see what's going on there. And I'm going to show you it's out of Taunton, but I'll show you what's happening out of there, and you'll get a better feel for where the wind is there. Let's go over to that. Ready? So this is going to be, I'm going to do a similar type probe, and you're going to see that rather than 65 miles per hour, it's 101 miles an hour. So the wind that's going to come in later on in the day is going to pale in comparison to what we're dealing with now. You look at this and say, oh my goodness, 101 miles an hour. Are we dealing with something that's coming down to the ground? No, it's not that strong getting down to the ground, but we've had reports of over 70, and that's been right along the leading edge. If I go back over to the regular radar, you can see there it is. It's right at the leading edge. It's coming out of Tiverton now, right? That's going to be headed for New Bedford. So we do think that there's going to be a good uptick in damage, especially New Bedford could be a little protected by the water in the bay, but once you start getting to Acushnet north, running up to Lakeville and the southern end of 495, you start to increase the potential. I do want to just look at storm relative velocity very quickly. Yeah, no, nothing. The only thing I'm looking for here is I'm looking for areas of shear. You see how that's showing up here along the south coast at 81? This is pretty decent shear. So the only thing you do have to watch for is we just have to be careful that we don't get any rotation that tries to develop inside of this. I know it sounds weird to be talking about that here on December 19th, but this is an area you got to watch it. So you've got green indicating air moving one way, red indicating air moving the other. Right now, what I'm happy about is that there's a bit of a separation between them. So you've got a shear axis, meaning a difference in wind direction that's going on here, but at the same time, you do have some separation rather than it being kind of tightly wound into a rotating pattern. The one area that would scream out to you right away would be just southeast of Fall River, but chances are good if I switch over to the regular radar, I'm going to guess, yeah, that's not in an area that's got a strong updraft right now. So that does not make it seem something that I'd be overly concerned with for that particular area for rotation. Okay, so on the bigger picture, we'll come farther to the north. And again, Bridgewater just finishing up with one of those heavy bands that's coming through right now. Massachusetts power outage, I think you already updated on this, over 81,000, right?
Nope, because it just came in.
Just went in again?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's bring you back in here, and I'll bring some of the outages up behind us. But what do you got?
All right, so it looks like 81,000 for Massachusetts. Now the New England-wide power outage map is a little delayed. But Connecticut, as of last check, was nearly 60,000. Rhode Island jumped up, almost doubled in the last 40 minutes, so over 30,000. Vermont's after that, then New Hampshire and Maine. But Massachusetts leading the way right now with over 80,000 without power.
Yeah, and you can see that very broad coverage that we were talking about, right, that shows up.
So we're over 200,000 now for New England.
Yep, look at that huge covering. I mean, really, it's most of central and eastern Mass. If you don't have any power outages in your town, you're one of the lucky few, right? Now, admittedly, again, we talked about this, a lot of it's not a lot, right? 470 customers in Barnstable, right? We're talking about 3% of the customers in Sandwich. But you get the idea, anyway, that there's a number of towns, and as we mentioned earlier, that becomes a larger area that these utility crews have to cover, even if it's a small number of people without, which raises the chance that your outage is going to last longer relative to somebody else. The good news is that you're not talking about what's going to be a real significant cold that comes in yet. The bad news is it comes in later. It's been a little while since we've updated the freeze times. I don't know if you think I should do that for folks here. I was just
actually going to ask if we could do two things. One, because I was just looking at some of the latest guidance, look at the freeze times, and number two, look at snow accumulation, because there are some signs on the backs, like on the southwest side, that we wrap in the cold air. So Connecticut, western Connecticut may actually get a little coating to perhaps an inch or two, like in the Litchfield Hills on the backside of it. So looks like the cold air comes in quick enough. We get almost this upper level energy. The front's offshore, but the upper level energy comes through. So although there are some lulls that occur, like the heaviest rain in that band is shifting south and east, we get a little lull, but then some scattered showers of both rain and snow, and even some steady light rain fill back in this evening. Temperatures are still going to be dropping at that point, so I think it's I don't know if we can constitute it as a flash freeze.
Yeah, it's a quick freeze.
But it's a quick freeze up, that's for sure, because we're going to drop pretty quickly through the 40s. I mean, just think about it. We're so mild, we're in the 50s, so it is going to take some time. Through the 40s and into the 30s through the evening hours from west to east. So the first spots, and Matt just mentioned this, across Vermont, western Massachusetts, Connecticut, western New England's going to be into it first, and then it will slide east. So the last spots that will hit the freezing mark are going to be places in eastern New England down to Cape Cod. We've had some questions on, will the wind dry us out enough? And I think while, yes, the wind is going to be strong, and when it shifts around, we get 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts, and that will dry us out. The problem is that some of the showers linger later into the evening, so there's still going to be some moisture. So there's no change there in terms of what we're thinking, that there will be slippery spots, there will be treatments that are needed, despite the fact that there's still going to be strong wind right on through the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've gone ahead and I've pulled up at least the snow expectation that you asked for here. So let's go ahead and take a look together and show you what's happening. Yeah, absolutely. You ask, I deliver. That's my job, right? That's my job.
Like
that's it. That's right. All right, so we go and we play things through, and to Danielle's point, do I have it up on the screen? Yes, I do. Good. All right. As we play things through, here's what Danielle's talking about. Do you see that expansion of snow in Connecticut, southern Worcester County, and running into northern Rhode Island, right? That's through about 8 p.m. So when is that happening? That's really happening in those areas between 6 and 8. And it's just a matter of, and this is something we looked at a short time ago, it's just a matter of where the snow showers develop on the backside, is because it's not going to be part of the main shield. This main shield is going to kick out. And once it kicks out, you're going to have this big lull. It's just that there's going to be enough energy that still needs to come through. You're going to be talking about now getting the showers of both rain and snow that'll come in. All right, Plimpton now starting to see an uptick in 911 calls and reports that are coming in as damage continues to move east. So let's go back over to the radar and show you what's happening with that. And we'll come back, Danielle, to this snow map, and we'll go over the flash freeze part in just a second. But where we know folks are under the gun very much, we want to make sure that we cover you right down to the street level. So here you go. This is the area of heavy rain. If you live in the North Shore, you say, hey, are you still talking about me? Absolutely we are. You are not in the most imminent danger of the strongest wind gusts is what we're seeing down to the south. But you can see that we do have some downpours still embedded in when you get anywhere east of I-93 and along Essex County, running down through Lynn and Salem and Gloucester. And in this entire zone, over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, this will snap to the coastline at Plum Island and at Gloucester, and this will be the period of some of the strongest gusts. But what we're seeing is a focus of that strongest wind now that's coming underneath the heaviest downpours, which essentially means that from Weymouth to Norwell, running down to Pembroke, and there is Plimpton. So this is really helpful information to know that we're getting a rapid uptick in reports coming out of Plimpton. There it is. That is the leading edge to that second band. Remember what we told you. Band 1 starts up the wind for you. Band 2 brings in the worst of it, and the back edge of that band now is over Brockton and Taunton and dropping off to the south, dropping off to the east. So this is your time of worst wind for you. If we zoom the view out just a little bit more, West Island down at Fairhaven just gusted to 59 miles an hour, and that's on the south end of this. Now again, at the heart of this band, if you look at what's going on with regard to velocity out of the National Weather Service radar, that radar is out of Taunton, Mass. So you're not that high off the ground in these spots, and you've got 50-mile-per-hour winds. In spots, if you can go up 1,000 feet, you're 59. If you can go up 2,000 feet, you're 88. If you can go up 2,500 feet, you're 96 miles an hour. So you definitely have a decrease in the intensity of the wind as you get down to the ground. The problem is that where you have these downpours, it changes the game because it allows you to channel some of that wind from aloft and bring it down to the surface. So really kind of point blank on what we're doing now with regard to the strongest wind. I think what you've got now coming in on Hanson down to Lakeville, moving off to the east, northeast. I can't even get that far. I got to zoom it out. Don't trust those towns and times yet. I got to zoom the view out because it's moving so fast. I need a little more run time here. It's about 65 miles an hour. There we go. Excuse me. There are your towns and times. Again, if you're watching on a small screen and you're not able to see it quite as easily, we'll take care of you here. Bottom line is that when you get around Plimpton, it's momentarily. It's in on top of you already. The reports are going up. When you get to Kingston, it's 102. So you got about, 6-8 minutes. Marshfield about 103. Duxbury, that next band, that more intense band, 104 p.m. So you're going to see an uptick in calls at Duxbury, at Plymouth at 106. Provincetown, if it holds together to you, which it should, it'd be there at 128. The only thing at Provincetown, Truro, and Wellfleet is you are surrounded by the cool ocean water, which may help to buffet the wind just a little bit. We've been seeing that happening today overall, but nonetheless, you get the idea. We are kind of in that witching hour now for dealing with the worst of it between now and about 1:30 across a lot of these areas. Do you have the chat up, or you want me to run down the chat, Danielle?
I will pull up the chat right now. Just give me 1 second. I had it up and then I closed it.
It's all good. I got it right here, so if you don't have it, I'll do it. But I figured if you want to share some of the stuff that folks are sharing with us.
Nope, I got it here too. Thank you. Let's see. Kelly O'Leary says closed at Wareham District Court, closed for the rest of the day due to an outage. Bill says I'm watching the webcams for Woods Hole. Bill Collins, and can see the wind starting to really pick up in Woods Hole. Mike says, so warm in North Eastham. Now it's 57. Yep, most spots, I was just looking at some of the obs, are 55 to 60 right now. And Cheryl, it's not too bad on the Cape right now. It's a little bit of what we were talking about, of a little bit of the stability of the ocean, the cooler ocean, helping us out to buff the wind a little bit. But that line of downpours in southeastern Massachusetts is definitely kind of the spike in terms of the strongest wind, with a history of gusts 60 to 65 miles per hour with it.
Got whitecaps right now on the Cape Cod Canal. Believe it or not.
Whoa.
I know. Let me show you here. Let's go over to the cam images, and we'll pull up the canal. And there it is. Look at the whitecaps out there on the water. That's crazy. That is crazy. The wind's howling. Now, you know what's really interesting, though? Right ahead of the band that's coming through, look at Hanover. You got some motion of the trees, but it's not It's not like it's a
not
real
overly.
windstorm. So again, this has been in pockets. I wish I could tell you that cam right under the band is working. It's not. It's out right now. But nonetheless, that would be great if it was. Some of the Mass DOT cams are good. We just don't have them streaming. So when you look at them, you can't really tell exactly what's going on with regard to some of the heavier rain and wind that comes by. But nonetheless, it's not a real enjoyable ride out there on the roadways of Massachusetts.
10 and 2.
I like
11
that.
and 3, isn't it now? I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyways.
Yeah. This is really, that's really interesting. So someplace like Burlington, Vermont. Wow, let me show you that. Oh, yeah, you saw it on the screen. I forgot I've got it for you live. So the snow is totally gone out of Burlington, Vermont. Look at that. It's green grass. They've melted it all away, all gone.
The grass looks nice. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Even up at the covered bridge now in Waitsville, Vermont, even the ice is starting to break up. You got a lot of that snow that's melting down going in there.
Yep, they just dropped from 42 to 32 at Saranac Lake, and it's moderate snow and half a mile visibility right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Coming.
Yeah. Mad River Glen, there's the raindrops. And it's so funny.
What's funny?
The ski industry was slow to put in webcams in the beginning because they were afraid of days like today where you look and it's raining up north, right? Here's the thing, though. It's well worth doing because in another 6 hours, or not even, another 4 hours, that's going to be a whiteout, and it's going to be exciting everybody, right?
Yes.
So keep in mind that those cameras, I think they are a great idea. They certainly help to tell the story, which is great, but it also it helps to drive home the fact that, look, the mountains, you snap back to snow quicker than anybody else. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go ahead and take you in uptight again. I know that you can see us on the screen here, and you can also see the radar, so this is where some of the heavier downpours with, again, the most concentrated wind just about to arrive in Scituate. We should see a pretty rapid uptick in what's going on with regard to some of the damage reports that comes in.
I was gonna say, are the damage reports more like trees, limbs down, outages? Has there been anything more significant? And all I mean by that is anything else that you've seen in terms of uprooted trees, or has it mainly been just a ton that are coming in with?
Yeah, let me do stuff
trees
just.
And wires
let me do stuff just within the last hour. We already told you about the scaffolding collapse that occurred in Boston. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. In Wareham on Cranberry Highway, the utility pole down across the road with power outages. In New Bedford, Mass, Templeton Street at Westview Street, a tree down that's blocking the road. Boston, Soldiers Field Road by Elliott Bridge, a tree down blocking the road. Rochester, Mass, tree down on wires. Westport, Mass, tree down on wires. New Bedford, Mass, again, several large branches down on Hathaway Boulevard. Fairhaven, Massachusetts, utility pole and wires down on Walnut Street at Morse Street. Pawtucket, Rhode Island, tree and power lines down at the intersection of Beveridge Hill and Prospect Street. Plymouth, Mass, the area of 77 Old Sandwich Road, wires are down. Pelham, Mass, Route 202, a tree is down. In Rochester, again, Old Schoolhouse Road at Walnut Plain Road. We got a tree down there, and that is just within the last 50 minutes or so of reports that have been coming in. How was that?
That was awesome.
Okay, good.
Although it was a little fast. I'm trying. My brain is trying.
Want to say them all again?
See, yes, about 50% of the speed that time.
All right, here's what I was telling you about with that. Remember, we were watching that developing wannabe thunderstorm down over the south coast of Connecticut. So it's about to roll into New London.
No lightning with that, right?
No lightning at this point. Let me see if I can get a current wind gust estimate out of that and see if we've got anything that's coming from underneath it.
Someone said lights went out for about 30 seconds in South Weymouth. Maybe we can answer this one later. It says best, safest time to travel up to ski country in Vermont. Later this afternoon, tonight, or tomorrow morning.
Love that so much. All right, let's answer the question for you right now, okay? So the question...
I think tomorrow morning, but that would be my... I don't know. We're going to go back and forth, I feel like.
Well, it's because you and I have different driving habits. We do. We have different driving habits. It's true.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll drive through anything.
That's true.
I'll drive, but I spent 20 some odd years driving through anything. I know.
So,
all
right, go ahead. So you would say probably just head on up, just take it slow.
Just get up there. No, I wouldn't. Let's be because honestly, most people are like you, not like me, right? So
I don't know about that.
So here's where we're at. So if you look at the predicted radar at 4:45 p.m., I don't know. Did they say where they're headed to?
Up in Vermont. When is the best time to drive safely up to ski country in Vermont?
Okay, the answer is not now, because over the course of the next 4 hours, we're going to see a flip to snow and whiteout conditions. It'll be including I-89 on the north end, and you can see that's right here at 4:45. You've got that's showing up for us here, right? So that's the first thing I would say is that we want to make sure that you don't go right now. As we get deeper into the evening, notice a lot of that starts to become a little bit more localized by 9 p.m. So the road crews up there are excellent, but at the same time, when you get in some of the mountain passes, it's not easy. At 9:15, you've still got some upslope snow that's going in the central and southern greens, but the worst of it, the whiteout stuff, has passed by then.
The temp
then it continues
to drop.
Yeah, the temp continues to drop, exactly. And then, to your point, by 3, 4 in the morning, I mean, it's much better.
And so maybe if you're an early rise, like you could just get up and go early Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. One of the other things that I'll do is, I love when I can to share our in-house 1 degree outside prediction system, because we built our own forecast system here, and it does a very, very good job. It's actually what we heavily rely on for a lot of our forecasts that we make for particularly our private partners, because we know that it does such a great job. So this is the hourly prediction. Now, this is from the 6 a.m. run, waiting for the noon run to come in, but it does such a good job that I'm not overly concerned about it being too far off.
Saying, right?
Yep. So there's the lull. If you could get to Vermont, if you're watching from central New Hampshire, or you're watching from, let's even say, southern New Hampshire, Pelham, and you can somehow hop 93 to 89 and get there now, I guess you could do it. But if you're watching from, let's say, the Mass Turnpike corridor, I'm not convinced you get there before this happens, which is by 6 p.m. You're starting to fire things up a little bit. There we go, fire it up through 8. And then, notice central northern greens. If you're going to J, it's going to snow a lot of the evening into the overnight. There's 3 a.m. By 4 a.m. again, you get agreement here from our guidance, too, that it starts to ease off a little bit. And then by tomorrow morning, you're good.
We got a couple other travel questions since you have our guidance pulled up, or if you want.
Oh, sure,
says,
yeah.
How about Maine by Sebago?
Oh, great.
Says Judy. And then Roger asks, best time to travel from eastern to western Mass today?
Okay.
I'd say now is fine from eastern to western Mass.
Yeah, I would say so, too. We'll look at temperatures here in a second, but I would say so, too. The only thing is, if you're going to Berkshire County, just keep in mind that they're going to light it up. There's 6 p.m. You're squalling. You're getting some pretty heavy squalls out there. As we get to the early evening. So if you go now, you're good. But if you're like, I got to get out of work first, it turns progressively more difficult from Lee out to Stockbridge as you head into the course of the evening. And once that starts, it does keep going on the western slopes of the Berks all the way through about 9. For Sebago Lake, you're pretty much all rain. I think the biggest thing for you is going to be, do you end up getting a freeze, right? Because you get scattered snow showers this evening, but whatever. We do that. It's New England, right? I think the bigger thing is going to be the freeze. So let's switch over to the temperature plot. We'll do it for New England. We've got a red line that indicates the freezing line. So notice at Sebago, you're good through 9 p.m. You really still haven't dropped to freezing yet because it's mostly a west to east freeze. So someplace like Sebago hits freezing the same time that someplace like Waltham. It doesn't matter where you are. At 10 p.m.-ish is when that red freezing line comes through Sebago. And then from that point forward, you freeze. The only thing to keep in mind is, because it's someplace, in a lot of these areas, when you consider the fact, all right, let's do this. Let's put a little perspective on this. The freezing line runs from Worcester to Boston between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. or so, right? 8 p.m. and midnight. So keep in mind, on the radar forecast, if we go back to that, and we go 8 p.m., all right, you've still got these scattered rain and snow showers around Boston, Worcester, northern Rhode Island, northeast Connecticut. We looked at the fact that it could drop a coating to an inch when it comes by. That's going to be one area of concern because you might get a freeze up. Sebago really doesn't get into that. Southern New Hampshire, the Mass-New Hampshire border, doesn't really get into that, which means that you've got hours of wind and dropping relative humidity to between 60 and 70% that with the wind is going to dry a lot of the exposed roads. So most of the highways should probably do okay because you have so many hours of drying in that kind of corridor of much of New Hampshire, northern Mass, southern Maine, central Maine for that matter as well, right? Before you ever drop below freezing, you've got that kind of lull or tapering going on, which makes a big difference for you. So something to keep in mind. It's not going to be like it's a flash freeze for all spots.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay, so other stuff that we have for you here. Let's check the chat. We want to remind you that you can always chime in on the chat. So if you're watching us right now on your computer at onedegreeoutside.live, we've got a chat built right in there. On social media, you can just comment right into the post, and we'll see it show up right away. And the other thing is, if you're watching on our YouTube live stream, which is just this event, we'll see those comments as well. If you're watching on your smart TV, it's a little bit harder. We suggest going to onedegreeoutside.live if you want us to take part in the chat, unless you like to punch every letter into your remote, which you can do.
A little mini update here.
Yep.
Slightly good update. So in the last 15 minutes, outage numbers have gone down just slightly by like 3,000. I bet they'll go back up with that line coming in, but little update there. So 78,000 without power in Massachusetts now. Brings the total for New England to about 150,000 currently.
Okay. There's that little wannabe thunderstorm. No lightning with it, but there it is coming across Norwich, Connecticut right now at 395, moving off to the northeast. So you may get a little burst of additional damaging wind that comes out of that. Other than that, this is the time now. We've got the strongest of the wind that's coming in. Duxbury at 1220, reported a 59-mile-per-hour gust at Duxbury Bay. Let's see, 62 miles per hour at Wareham. And again, this is kind of the blast of strongest wind that's coming in on top of us right now. Let's see if we can play through the last hour or so and see the overall progression. It's definitely been slowing. There's no question about that.
I was going to say.
The band has been slowing down as it comes east. I'm not convinced that's a bad thing, because
really?
because the wind. If we look at the let me go ahead and go now. If we look at the wind velocity. So the worst of the wind technically should still be continuing to ride. Yeah, see how you're starting to get it out over like Gloucester? If you go up, I mean, it's still really substantial wind, right? This is 3,500 feet up, 88 miles an hour. But the core of wind is still moving east. The band of rain has slowed. The core of wind, I believe, should still be moving east because the atmosphere aloft is not seeing the same response that we're seeing at the surface. What's happening here is we're getting some sort of a boundary that's hanging that up a bit. That shouldn't necessarily be the case. Let's see if we can get, I want to see if we can get some backup to that, because it's a theory, but I think it'll be a good one. Let's see if we can get a backup to that. Yeah, certainly. So, yeah, I mean, so, yeah, interesting. Taunton's at 41, Providence 39, Newport 37, right, versus 47 Plymouth, Norwood, Marshfield, Boston 49.
Billy says in the last 15 minutes in Situate definitely feels like the wind's backed off.
Yeah, okay,
so
all right.
Helpful.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that it's still going to be windy, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he said just definitely have backed off a little
Totally.
bit.
And that's exactly, thank you for that, Billy. That makes a lot of sense. We're still gusting 41 at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, right? So it's a 41 knots, so you're gusting about 48, 49. So it's not like it goes away, but I think that the absolute worst that we've been tracking here has continued to progress off to the east, which is good. And to the point of it not totally going away, when you get across Springfield, I mean, it's 32-mile-an-hour gusts. Just keep in mind what we were talking about. The wind there now is out of the southwest. You can handle a southwest wind a lot better than you can an east-southeast wind, or excuse me, a south-southeast wind, which is still what we're doing in parts of southeastern Mass, or even at Boston. Logan Airport's gusting to 43 knots.
Is that Webster wind gust?
Peak wind at Logan's 55,
okay. Huh.
So 55 knots.
Okay.
So is that, did we share that already?
64, yeah.
All right, let's see. Let me do a little quick math here just to see.
I just had the conversion up on the...
So yeah, that's 63, 64. So we got that already and shared that with folks. Good. Excellent. So again, continue to share any reports you have with us. I think what we're going to do on our end is we're going to continue to follow this as we watch that strongest core of wind shifting to the coastline and off the coast. And at that point, look, I mean, we could stay up for like 20 hours because, well,
Let's
not
pull
20.
it all-nighter.
It could go 12 at least, maybe 14. But one thing that I think is a good thing to do right now is reset for those of you that are just with us. And by that, I mean, let's take you just through the overview on what we expect to be happening here and how things are going to break down. So I'll go ahead and get us back over to a large screen image so you can see a better picture of what's happening. So here's where we're at. Do you mind if I take a...
I like this big picture. I like
okay,
this
good.
view. This is good.
Great. So let's do it. So here's what's going on. We've got a cold front right now that is approaching and moving through New England. That has focused the wind out ahead of it out of the south. Back behind it, you see a shift in the wind that comes out of the west and northwest, and that's when we start to see what'll be an increase in wind again, but it's not going to be to the same extent that we've already had. Radar over the course of the last 6 hours shows the rain that came through in the morning, and then the lull, and now the heavier downpours that are over us now. There's new downpours developing over the lower lower Connecticut River Valley, and we've been very close to getting a thunderstorm out of Norwich, Connecticut at 395. That's moving northeast. You still may get a lightning strike out of that as it moves across northern Rhode Island and eastern Massachusetts. So an isolated lightning strike can't be ruled out over the course of the next about 45 minutes as that comes through. That is going to focus some strong wind gusts, but not as strong as what we've just seen. For most areas, excepting the immediate coastline of eastern Massachusetts, who are dealing with it now, you've already dealt with your strongest wind gusts. Boston gusted to 64 miles per hour. I'm sorry, what's going on? Oh, you want me to slow down? Danielle says I'm talking too fast. Okay.
You're a fast talker, which is awesome.
No,
Most
I appreciate
New Englanders
that. Thank you. All right, very good. So we've seen, the strongest of the wind has moved through eastern portions of New England already. The farther west that you go, you've got gusts now that are on the order of 25 to 30 miles per hour, and even less than that in Burlington after gusting to 47 miles an hour. Gusts now are 18. So this tells you that the worst of the wind is pretty much what's over eastern Massachusetts, and again, that it will be at least backing down an order of magnitude over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. Farther to the north, we've got wind gusts that are going over 40 still when you get east of 93 and along the Route 16 corridor of eastern New Hampshire. We've still got some funneling of the wind going on around Greenfield and Brattleboro up the Connecticut River. But again, in general, we've started to see the winds coming down a bit. And then finally, when you make your way up across northern New England, a lot of this has been terrain induced. When you get into areas that are exposed, and particularly when the wind is coming over the White Mountains or Greens, you've accelerated the wind. The south-north oriented valleys have accelerated the wind, and now we're starting to see the wind accelerating at the coast. Portland, Maine at Casco Bay gusting to 48 miles per hour, Bar Harbor gusting to 47, and a state capital gusting to 48. Wind gust forecast takes this quickly off to the east with that steadiest core. And again, when you get around, let's say, Bangor and Bar Harbor, this is going to be when you're talking about what probably is going to end up being our worst wind through the afternoon to the early evening at someplace like Eastport, east of Bar Harbor. And this is what we were talking about with the wind continuing all night long. Gusts that are going 30, 40, and even still 50 miles per hour deep into the night with a timestamp in the upper left by 2 a.m. You still have some gusts of 45 to 50 miles per hour, but it's out of the west, which is a lot less damaging direction. Danielle made the really good point that you're likely looking at kind of a delayed, ability to get things back up from the bucket trucks because of the fact that they'll still be swinging and swaying into the overnight. Temperature has just dropped and crashed across Albany, New York, down to 41 degrees. You can see when we put the temperatures with radar, where you see the blue in upstate New York from, let's say, Old Forge, running all the way up to Lake Placid, Saranac Lake. This is the area that has switched to snow. It is right now a steady and heavy snow. It's what we expect to come into the Berkshire, the Greens with whiteout conditions probably about 2.5 hours from now. And also add up the snow very quickly to the order of at least about 2 inches up the spine of the Greens, over 4 in some of the high terrain and summits. And the Berkshires should end as some snow, and again get a little bit of upslope snow as we looked at already this evening, which will probably for you cause on the order of 1 to 2 inches, at least in the higher elevations as well. Here's the radar forecast with temperatures overlaid at 5 p.m. You're going to see a few things. You're going to see the mountain snow that we talked about, but you're also going to see, look at that, scattered rain changing to snow showers remaining until 8 p.m. near the Mass Pike and south of the Pike into northern and central Connecticut, northern and central Rhode Island. The concern here is that you're putting, even if it's only scattered, you're putting fresh moisture on the ground. For some of you, particularly in the hills of the quiet corner of Connecticut, running into the hilly terrain of central Mass, northern Rhode Island, around Smithville, you may be able to get what will be a light snow accumulation. The ground is warm. That's good news. The bad news is the temperature drops down to freezing pretty quickly behind it. So I think if you get hit with one of those rain and snow showers, you're simply not going to be able to get things to dry out in time to avoid icing that will happen. Notice the 32-degree line is down around Plymouth and Duxbury as we get to 11 p.m., but you do have a little time to dry things out. A lot of the main kind of open roadways will probably be able to dry because the ground temperature won't drop to freezing until about 4 or 5 in the morning in places like the South Shore. But having said that, the farther north and west you go, if you do get hit by one of those little rain and snow showers, it becomes a little bit more problematic where the moisture doesn't dry out. Some of the back roads, exit and entrance ramps, and don't forget the bridges tend to freeze first. We look at how much snow comes down over the course of the afternoon to evening. It's mostly a coating across a lot of southern New England, but you also see in the Berkshires, the blue, if you line it up with the legend at the top, that's where you start to get 2 inches or more in some of the high terrain. Same thing for the high terrain of the Green Mountains of Vermont, running into the the presidentials and up across the northern reaches of New Hampshire at Pittsburgh and snowmobile country. We end up with a couple to 4 inches of snow that comes down tonight as well. Farther to the south, maybe you can squeeze out an inch from Storrs, Connecticut, running all the way back up across the to the Massachusetts border near Sturbridge, but again, only in the hilly terrain. Overnight lows drop to the 20s. You'll end up with a wind chill factor that'll be dropping down into the teens, single digits north. Tomorrow isn't that bad. This is not one of those big Arctic bursts that comes in. So you're able to get up into the 30s, and you'll do it with a wind chill at the warmest time of the day. That'll be near 30 degrees or so by the time all is said and done. Saturday night does not get that terribly cold. And then by Sunday, there may be some later snow showers that slide in across some of the mountains of northern New England. Most of us will find temperatures up into the 40s. So again, we make some improvement there by Sunday. And then if you watch in our pattern predictions, which will be streaming again on our streaming network as soon as we come down, you probably saw that we are also watching a couple of disturbances for next week, one around the 23rd to 24th, the other one the night of the 25th into the 26th. And that has been enough of my voice, so let's bring you back in, Danielle.
So Jill says, I'm just going to bring a couple chats that have come in. Jill says, you guys are great together. Thank you. Now it's getting windy up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's been kind of quiet except some rain, says Mr. C Northeast. Paul says, fun tracking this with you guys. I'm seeing peaks of sun in Whitman.
Nice. David
says, will there be enough time for the power lines and tree branches to dry out before the freeze? I think you just answered that.
Yeah, the answer is mostly yes.
Boston and Maine Live, hello. The north-south line of rain that moved through New York earlier today was interesting. Was that the front?
Yes. That was the area of kind of forcing that was along it. Although, interestingly, it started out as the front and then became a prefrontal trough. It became something that's a shift of wind that goes ahead of the front. And essentially, it's what we're looking at now that's kind of been trying to redevelop in southern New England, right? This has been the same type of deal. When you get, let me see if I can get us to a different radar. Up in northern New England, we'll include everybody for this view.
And then a little power outage update has just come down even a few thousand more in the last 15 minutes. We're still have over 70,000 without power in Massachusetts and over 200,000 across New England, but the numbers have dropped just a little bit, a few thousand in the last 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I know, there you go, you were pulling that up, but
yeah, no, this is it's good. I was trying to try and rewind this long enough to be able to show what happened a while back. Let me see if I can do that on the fly. Probably. Well, I could do anything on the fly. Why not, right?
I was going to say, can you
believe in yourself?
Pull up the telestrator again. Your telestrating skills are impressive.
Oh man, let's see. Let's putting this here and time settings.
I have to just give Matt a shout out for a second because I'm sitting here checking the chat and pulling things up. He is directing, producing, doing everything on the computers, which is very difficult to do on the fly while talking, while checking reports on his iPad. Like,
it's a lot.
You're the master multitasker.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that thank God I paid attention all those years in TV to everybody who was doing their job because we worked with some amazing people. There's no question about it. And so you learn and you try and soak things up along the way. And it really came in handy for what we've been doing here because from lighting to chroma key to everything that we've done with the setup and the stream that you see, the 24/7 stream, and directing this and switching this. This was all. I'll give a hats off to every great person that I've ever had the privilege of working with and learning from. You learn along the way.
There's that line.
Yep, there was that line, right? That Boston Maine Live was talking about Syracuse to Scranton at 7:30 this morning. It was producing damage. Notice where that line went. That one in general went off to the north and east and then came into Vermont at about 11:20, right? The rest of it kind of fell apart, but if you find these vestiges of it, look down on the south side of that line. Let me go ahead and get us out of the way. The south side of that line is what was over Long Island, all right? So it was over Long Island at about 12 o'clock, at about noon. If I go backwards, watch that line out of central Long Island. That was it. Ready? See? That was it. So it was broken on the south side coming out of Allentown, came across New York City and barely held together, came across Long Island. Keep watching it. Eastern end of Long Island, that's the thunderstorm that we've been looking at, or the wannabe thunderstorm. It hasn't made lightning yet. That's a downpour we've been looking at over 395. And boom, there it is coming up to 395 at Norwich right now in Connecticut. That's the line.
That line has had some 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts.
Still having 30 to 40?
Yep. So
nice.
You know, even though it looks a little intense, it's nothing like what just blew through or continues to blow through southeastern Massachusetts.
Yep.
So not as bad. Daniel says massive gust along Route 27, Kingston, Pembroke. Thanks for the update.
Okay, makes sense.
What do you see on your end? Because I'm on the road. So that was Daniel.
Daniel, the answer to that is yes. You are right underneath the worst of the wind and rain focus right now. The back edge of it, the back edge of the worst stuff is already through Lakeville. It's rapidly moving east on Route 18. It's coming east of 140 within the next 10 minutes or so, which means that for your area, you're going to be able to clear out of it probably in the next 30 minutes or so. Blue Hill has just gusted to 81 miles an hour now.
That's
this
the
is from
so
the
far, right?
Yep, this is the new peak wind gust. This is from Skywarn Spotter Network, keeping track. Yep, and thank you, Blue Hill.
Today.
Yeah,
yes.
Blue Hill is the nation's oldest continuous weather observatory in Milton, Massachusetts, and so keep in mind that is truly a national treasure when it comes to weather. I mean that very sincerely, and so the fact that they are up there manning this thing all the time and able to record this, it's been able to record changes in weather and climate over the course of over 100 years, and now you've got the 81 mile per hour gust that comes in out of the observatory.
On Blue Hill one time. Did I tell you about that?
No, but a lot of people don't realize we do have rattlesnakes in Mass.
I didn't realize that as a kid, and I hiked Blue Hill and saw a rattlesnake. Totally fun. But
and that's that belt. That's that belt you wear to fancy events now.
Yes.
No, it's no.
But I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
I got you to say yes for a second.
Yeah. I didn't know what you were talking about. It's fine.
All right, let's.
Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Another fun fact: Pittsfield just dropped 11 degrees in 40 minutes. So I was trying to see when we were talking about flash freeze and stuff. So they dropped 11 degrees in about 40 minutes. They're still in the low 40s. So that's why we say not flash. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you do drop quickly. They were in the 50s. They're now in the low 40s.
Okay, that's great to know. Yeah. All right. Northern New England, what was blasting in Burlington is now an 18-mile-an-hour gust, so it's been a big change there. Starting to blast a little bit more on the Maine coast. Portland's gusting 48 miles per hour, so we'll see outages tick up there in short order. As a matter of fact, do you want to give us a little? I think we're getting close to being able to let folks kind of return to watching our regular stream that we have. But as we do it, let's get another. Wareham gusted 62. That just came in too, by the way. National Weather Service Skywarn spotters.
60 in those spots.
Yep, absolutely. Yep,
so
and that's in the backside of that. You got it.
Backside. So were you saying outage numbers? A little update.
Yeah, you want to give us a little update on that?
Yeah, so we get about 200,000 customers without power across New England right now. Massachusetts leading the way, followed by Connecticut, and then Rhode Island has bumped up. So originally it was Vermont, but to your point, the wind has died down over Vermont, so those outages are improving. Here in Massachusetts, the amounts have gone down by about 6,000 in the last half hour, but I bet they'll go back up in some spots. And then the Maine numbers, there's not many without power in Maine right now, a few thousand, but those numbers with the increasing wind along the coastline of Maine, I'm sure will tick up here in the coming hours.
Okay.
So they're the lowest right now.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. And then meanwhile, Wellfleet has just recorded a 62 mile per hour gust. So yeah, we can take you back over to the radar and show you what's going on there. And again, this is a funny event because it's not necessarily that radar is always going to show you exactly what's happening, right? So some of the strongest gusts have been underneath some of the heaviest downpours, which are now coming through Plymouth County. However, when you get to Wellfleet, there's hardly anything going on for rain at all. So this just means that now, after being protected by the cool ocean water for a while, we've lost that protection. The cooler air has been scoured out enough that we now are getting 60-plus gusts that are coming onto the outer portion of Cape Cod. And so that means that we should continue to see them increase, which means that as this leading edge comes onto the outer Cape, it increases the chance of new wind damage reports coming in. Let's go ahead and follow that leading edge to the increased wind.
Pretty much right near the canal.
Yep, and it's been slowing, so we're going to take that forward speed down. Let me get a good estimate.
Like 63 originally, right? Or in the 60s, but it's...
Yeah, let's see. The individual cells are still moving at over 70 miles an hour, but the overall line has definitely slowed its pace. So let's see if we can get a good adjusted... there we go. So here we go. So are we seeing it live on the screen for you? Yes. So let me get it out so it's not behind my head. There you go. So these are your towns and times. If you are watching on a little mobile screen, you can't see them too easily. We'll share them with you. If you're watching on a mobile screen and you want to break free and liberate yourself from a little screen, you can either go on to onedegreeoutside.live on the computer, or you can head over to your smart TV, and on the YouTube app, search 1 Degree Outside Network, and you'll be able to find our live stream there. That is, by the way, 24/7. This is a special live broadcast within that for you. Provincetown, 1:36 p.m. arrival on the core of strongest wind. Yarmouth about 1:43. Wellfleet about 1:46. Dennis about 1:46 as well. Harwich, Brewster, Eastham, all between 150 and 155. Orleans about 158. Chatham about 159. And again, this is going to be on the leading edge to the most significant wind. So you've started to see it ticking up on the Outer Cape. You'll get your most significant that'll be coming in when at those times. And it's going to last you for about an hour, I would say, at least. What do you think? Duxbury went into it...
Yeah, a little over an hour ago.
So it's going to last more than an hour. It's probably going to last you 90 minutes. Yeah, about 90 minutes total. And we're just doing that off of yeah.
I'm going to step out.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, thanks, Danielle. Appreciate it. You got to handle some partner updates, or you want me to do that when I step off? No, I'll take care of that when I come off. No problem. Thank you. All right, so here's what's going on now with regard to the back edge. Your back edge of that is now coming in across portions of 24. So the good news here is that there is an end in sight. If you're over Plimpton, Carver, Duxbury, Kingston, as much as it's pounding right now, both wind and rain, you've got a good chance that you're going to end up finding that letting up here probably next half hour, I would think, as the back edge comes in. Plimpton should already be letting up, frankly. I'm thinking Plymouth, Duxbury might be another half hour before it gets on top of you. Checking the chat just to see what else we have. Appreciate everybody who's been continuing to chime in and give us an idea of what's going on. Feel free to ask questions as you get them as well. That is a part of this, too. Thank you for the update, says Mike. Mike, it's absolutely our pleasure. Charlie, Saugus, great. Thank you. Charlie and Saugus says, thank you, guys. Much better than Matt years ago from his basement in black and white. I'm not sure what that would be that you were referring to, but nonetheless, I've managed to stay out of the basement at all times. That's good. I always said if I'm ever broadcasting from the basement, it's time to retire. But nonetheless, I like that, Charlie. You made me laugh. Thank you. Lights went out for about 30 seconds in South Weymouth. All right, very good. Driving New Bedford to Falmouth at 3 p.m. Concerns about the winds over the Canal Bridge heading into the area. Now, I think by 3 you're good. It's going to be windy. Hang on to the wheel, but it should be wind. It should not be the same kind of wind that we're dealing with now. You should be in a much better position by the time all is said and done with that. So, look, I think that this gets us set in a spot where I don't want to sign off from you too soon in case this this stuff kind of continues to cause significant issues. We know there's going to be more damage reports. We know that the wind is still really gusty underneath this round of downpours, right? At the same time, we also know that the heaviest or the strongest wind aloft is starting to outrun some of those downpours. I do want to look. Let's just check out these downpours coming across the Rhode Island border. I'm going to probe inside of that. Yeah, look at this. Way different than it was before, isn't it? 25 to 45, even aloft. So, you mix that down. Now, granted, you get farther, higher up at elevation, and you got about 70 miles per hour. But that's going to be, at least 2,500 feet off the ground. So I look at this, and I say, this stuff coming in from the west, it just doesn't have, even though it looks bad on radar, and it still, by the way, could cause an isolated lightning strike, it doesn't have the same focus to it in terms of wind that you had on this front leading band. And again, I think of the front leading band, you're starting to get the worst of the wind running over the outer Cape and essentially kind of outrunning some of the area that you've got the stronger downpours, which isn't a bad thing because it means if you can't get them totally concurrent, then you can at least bring down the magnitude of the wind gusts a bit. Looking at real-time observations, that seems to be matched up. Plymouth Airport did just gust to 44 knots. So, I mean, you're talking about, about 54-ish miles an hour. And, again, we just got that 60-plus report that came out of Wellfleet out on the Outer Cape. So we know there's still going to be some 60-plus gusts. We think that the worst of the concurrent rain, downpours, and wind that was bringing the 70-plus gusts, and in the case of Blue Hill, the 80-plus gust, has probably now kind of moved out over the ocean. We think that because that you don't have that same correlation of downpours with strongest wind aloft going on in the Outer Cape, that you'll continue to gust over 60. You might get an isolated gust over 70, but you're probably not going to end up getting, 70 to 80 stuff at this point, I wouldn't think, just based on where we're at with that now. and then you're going to wait on that shift in wind that's going to come in and allow for that cooler air to come on. Then again, just expect it's going to be windy tonight all night long. You're going to hear it howling. I just don't think it's going to be the same kind of windy that we're dealing with right now. So if you are watching on social media, I would encourage you, if you want to keep watching, to switch over to our streaming network. We are New England's first and only streaming network. You will find us if you're on the computer at onedegreeoutside.live. If you're on the phone, then you're probably already watching the streaming network. It was linked at the top of the home screen. And if you're at home and you want to watch on your smart TV, you're going to go into the YouTube app and do a search for the number 1 Degree Outside network. If you're watching on social media, when we come down from this special live stream, you will see it come to an end. But again, you can swing over to our network that we have going 24/7. You'll see a lot there. I can share with you, actually, before I let you go, exactly what you will see there, because it's something that I think you'll find a lot of use from, whether we're live streaming or not. Let me go ahead and pull up. So this is a live look at our 24/7 streaming network, and here's how it's set up. Obviously, you're seeing me streaming right now in the center there with a very slight delay. In the upper left is the radar, and that radar is updating 24 hours a day. It also includes any pertinent warnings and advisories across New England. There are your high wind warnings you see scrolling by, your special weather statement that's been issued. That was for that little wannabe thunderstorm in southern Connecticut. Your wind advisory. It goes back to your radar. We always keep that legend there when you watch on a bigger screen. That legend is actually what we're looking at with regard to any type of severe warnings, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm. We always keep that up, flash flood warnings, because we think it's important to always be on top of that, even in the winter months. The cameras are awesome. They're courtesy of Boston and Maine Live, as you can see, which is a great, great YouTube destination in of itself. But you get the idea that we can see in real time what's happening across New England. You keep this network up, and it's awesome to be able to see the weather come in on radar and see the conditions update on the cams. It's a great partnership with Boston and Maine Live. The lower left I call Weather Geek's Corner, and it's because I love it, and I'm a weather geek, right? And I think if you're watching, you may love it too. Those are maps. It's basically whatever Danielle and I thought would have been stuff that you'd want to see, we put in there, and it's updating constantly 24 hours a day. So look at the temperature difference coming into western portions of New England right now. The dew point, you can see how that's been elevated. We update the total amount of precipitation over the last 24 hours, current wind gusts, wave heights, all of that stuff is updating, right? Meanwhile, you can see the red crawl that goes down at the bottom. Those are any warnings that are in effect across New England. Most of them show up there. We even put freeze warnings in there. We thought about, is that a little bit of overkill? And then we decided, you know what? If you're New England's only weather network, put it in, baby. So we have it in there, and you get the full statement there. During tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, towns and times will show up there as well. Those are all issued by the government. Those are the National Weather Service warnings as they come through. And then at the bottom, of course, is the regular crawl. And our partners who make this all possible are in there as well, along with your current temperature, current time. So now you've seen that, and you have an idea of what that's all about. Again, that's at onedegreeoutside.live on your computer. It's linked atop the home screen of our app, and it is on your smart TV. Open up the YouTube app and do a search for the number 1 Degree Outside weather, and you'll see it there. So with that, I'm going to thank you very, very much for being a part of this live stream, for all of your chats, for all of your insight, for all of your information, for the questions you asked, and I hope you found this to be valuable. Danielle and I truly find joy in bringing all of New England weather coverage. It's something that we loved to do for many years on linear broadcast on television, and to do it digital first and meet everybody where you're at is a joy and an honor. So with that, I'm going to switch things back over to our regular streaming network now. For those of you watching on social media, we will say goodbye for the time being. If anything really epic comes back up, we'll get back up with you. In the meantime, find us on social media. Our handles everywhere, the number 1 Degree Outside.